The best intro in the watch business, no question about it. What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of Talking Watches. We're talking watches with the Watch Cardinal. Before we begin, I just want to give a quick shout out to Mark donating the 20 pounds before the stream even starts. He said, can't join, too late, but congratulations on your graduation. Not for sure if it was today or yesterday. Well done, Mark. Well, there's a bit of a mix-up. All I did was take my graduation pictures, but I'm actually only graduating from university in December. But thank you very much for the super chat. I'll be sure to do a proper graduation stream and a proper send-off to Ireland type of stream because it's going to be around the same kind of time. So it'll be a good one, guys. It'll be a good one. But thank you very much for your generosity. Of course, it's greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Guys, I'm going to drop the link. For anybody who would like to join. Let me drop the link. Thank you again, Mark. It's greatly appreciated. We got DJ DePonte in the house. We got the Real Cars and Chrono reminding everybody to upvote. Thank you very much. We got the Watch Guy. How are you, my man? I hope all is well. We got Ari joining us. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good, my man. Thank you for joining. We got B. Bardsley. Great stream tonight. We just wrapped up on his show. Thank you for joining. We got Andrew T. We got the Watch Guy, Peruka. Ooh, and we got a bunch of people joining us. A lot of familiar faces. We got our man Wristwatch Jesus, and of course Wings and Watches. Thank you very much for joining. We got
thanks for having us.
DC and LB. We got Eddie's Watches joining us. We got Andrew T. Bunch of the regulars. Thank you all for joining me. And of course we have, oh my goodness, here he is. We have Todd joining the show. I was just about to pull up your chat. How are you, Todd?
Hey, big week, huh? Historic week here in the watch world.
Hold on, I need to know what's the big week? What's the big week?
Oh, guys, I mean, it was the world's largest price for an independent watch, a new world record for an independent watch.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, big day in the watch world, no question about it. And man, I must admit, it's not really shocking, to be fair, because that market has gone pretty crazy. We got the captain joining us. What's going on, Cap?
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, Marco.
All is well.
Hey, everybody.
Backstage until he comes in. So we had this Philippe Dufour right here, right, which I believe is what you're referencing.
That's it.
If I'm not mistaken. It's a Grande and Petite Sonnerie from Philippe Dufour that just sold for $7.63 million. Now that's a fair bit of coin.
Wow. Okay. Justification for that price. What are you getting for $7.63 million?
Yeah, hold on. These pictures are
well, it's the only Grande Petite Sonnerie that's ever been installed into a wristwatch, because it was thought that the mechanism was simply impossibly complicated and too large and would only exist in a pocket watch. And Dufour did this in 1992. This was his first watch. There were 8 of these. Each one is unique, different dial, different metal, different look. So it's not really a series. They're all piece uniques.
Right.
I guess you would say. And he had done them as pocket watches initially for Omer Piguet. And then when he wanted to make them as wristwatches, they didn't want to support him. So he went off on his own. And these were his first independent watches that he made under the Dufour name. This one was originally made for the Sultan of Brunei. It was then resold at Sotheby's in 2012, I believe. And at the time it sold for $620,000, which for an independent watch in 2012, I mean, that's a quaint number now for some independent watches. But back then that was probably actually a world record price at that time, 2012. I mean, you got to think 10 years, it went from 620 right to 7.5. I mean, what is that? That's 20, just under 30% ROR per annum, I think, 28, 29%. You know, I mean, admittedly, I guess if you had bought Bitcoin in 2012,
you would have done pretty well.
Yeah.
Buying for the same $620,000, you'd have roughly $2 or $2.2 billion in Bitcoin today. So maybe not as good a trade. But
That's pretty good. Pretty decent.
It's a really important day for the independents. I think it shows that, and this was, pre-sold, basically Silas Walton, who's the guy who runs A Collected Man, which is one of my favorite watch, like website, blog, journals, resale, website kind of thing. And I've done business with him, and they particularly focus on the independents, which is why I like it, I guess. I believe the story is that this piece had been sourced quite a while ago. It went back to Philippe. Everything was done with Philippe's knowledge, his, approval. I believe the pricing was even done to a certain extent with his understanding and at least, if not approval, imprimatur.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pre-sold, basically. It went on the website and it appeared like it had sold 3 hours later. But that I don't think was the full story. I think fundamentally the watch had been pre-sold, and so it was sort of just.
It had been pre-sold as far as
it was a ceremony almost.
It was a formality.
Exactly.
They wanted people to feel, which was nice though. They didn't do it just privately. They did want to put it up on the site because I'm sure that they felt that was important to not only represent Philippe but represent themselves. Like look at the kind of material that we handle, and who wouldn't want to do that? I think that's fair. Especially if something as special, as this. So but I mean, for the independents. I just think it's a real,
big win. It's a huge win.
It's just wonderful. And I was really, really, chuffed about it when it, and you're going to have to learn that word for Ireland, chuffed. That's an important.
Chuffed to bits. I'm chuffed to bits.
That term. I was really chuffed when it finally went live, so to speak, because I'd been waiting. Like I knew about this like a month or two ago, and I was like waiting and couldn't tell anybody, couldn't, mention it, and so really excited. So that was the big news of the week, and I think it's really major news.
It's really important because I think personally, right, we're living in probably the greatest era of independent watchmakers, really since 300 years ago, right? You have to go back, or a couple hundred years ago at least. You have to go back to the days of John Arnold, Abraham
watchmakers then.
Sorry?
I guess they were sort of all independent watchmakers then.
Yeah, they were all, there was no real major brands, right? So they were all kind of independent. I mean, they would have their own workshop of people, similar to what you see from independent watchmakers today, right? So that's kind of the idea, right? And I think what they're creating today is probably some of the most important breakthroughs in watchmaking, in the last kind of 200 years. I mean, let's be honest, since Thomas Mudge made the lever escapement and then it was updated and then the Swiss took it over, unless you're talking George Daniels coaxial escapement, not much has really been done since that time, right? I mean, sure, there was the invention of the tourbillon and all this stuff, but that all happened 200 or 300 years ago.
That was Breguet in the early 18th century. I mean, that's
right. Exactly. I mean, there's not really been any real development. And I think this group of independent watchmakers that we have today, are showcasing the very best of what the watch world has to offer in a very, very long time. And I think we're living in an era that we'll look back on, 50, potentially 100 years from now and say, wow, we were truly blessed with the talent that we have today. So I think it's definitely not only an important milestone, but I think an extremely important watch. Philippe Dufour in his own right is maybe one of the greatest watchmakers of all time. And, that piece is a standalone piece that is, just incredible.
It really is. It's in a weird, it's not a unique piece because there's 8 of them, but it's sort of like a piece unique, both in terms of the build, but also in terms of historically. Sort of, it's kind of like a crucial inflection point for independent watchmaking, being a watch that people literally thought would be impossible. For one person, he spent, think about it, 2.5 years on this. This is like a 5,000-hour project.
Right.
This is 8 to 11.
There were no computers.
8 to 11 hours
they were in their infancy.
For 2.5 years, kind of thing, with starts and stops.
Amazing.
Things not working out and things not fitting the way he wanted and having to go back to scratch with things. And, it wasn't like a computer-aided design. He laid it all out, and then all he had to do was go through the motions of building piece 1 through piece 1500 or whatever it is. He literally, this was largely done in his mind, which is just a phenomenal.
That's amazing. That's
when
amazing.
you think of it.
Amazing.
Yeah, no question.
So I was chuffed to come on today and talk about the independent record. So enough about
That's excellent. That's
On to the
excellent.
next. Sorry.
So
Listen, it's a big breakthrough,
Yeah.
no question. Go ahead, Ari.
So being that being somewhat unfamiliar with the independent market here, I mean, to do well as an independent today, and you both of you know, and I'm plugging to Todd and Watch Cardinal, you know the independent market much better than I do. Like, what do they have to do? How do they have to innovate today in order to be successful?
Hi. That's a $1 million question, Ari. If we had the answer, I'm sure we'd start a brand ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We would hire
That's a
couple-
really good question, Ari. That's a really
Yeah,
good question.
Man, I think, listen, it has to be some combination of high skill, right? You have to be extremely skilled in a fashion that differentiates or separates yourself from the pack. I think that there's very few watchmakers that are able to do that. I think that you have to have a certain technical prowess that's required, no question about it. And I think you have to have a lot of luck. You know what I mean? Listen, there are mostly market forces at play here. What makes people like an FP Journe over, Roger Smith or some of these other amazing wristwatch or these watchmakers? It's hard to say. You know what I mean? It's hard to say. So listen, some of them are, tech driven. Because they're extremely complicated watches, maybe one-off pieces that, are extremely important for that watchmaker. But it's mostly market-driven forces, and it's hard to predict what the market will turn to now. Yeah.
Right. And Wristwatch Jesus wrote one word in the private chat, Instagram, and so
that's another big factor. Yeah, no question.
That's a good point. Very good point.
I just want to read out this super chat. We got Simon says wristwatch with the 38 Hong Kong dollars. Thank you very much. He said salutations de Hong Kong from a fellow Canadian, Québécois. He says watch enthusiast. That's amazing, man. Glad to have you on the stream, and know that there are some Quebecers watching, fellow Quebecers, guys. For those who don't know, I'm from Montreal, so it's always nice to meet some fellow French punters in the chat.
I just like the fact Canadians are just dominating the watch streams here. It's awesome.
All right.
Go Canada.
So, Simon, thank you very much.
Very alone and on my own.
We have as well Ali Reza with a $5.33. Thank you very much. Says Ari, what do they have to do to be successful as independents today? Captain takes a drink. Accurate. Right. It's like any business, right? When you're starting out in any field, what does it take to be successful? It's not an easy question to answer, right? It's combination of skill.
Coke Zero, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like unlike being a brand where they really do have to think about everybody has to think about bottom line, but differently. I mean, the independents are sort of a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that they get to indulge a very personal vision about what horology is and watchmaking is and what the history of watchmaking is and how they're going to interact with that. So it's nice that if you're going to engage in any field, that's the independence part of it, so to speak. The scary part, of course, is because you're not kind of branding something that can be made and mass marketed. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, I think most Patek for a certain thing is like mass market. It's very high level, but it's mass market. So
serial production, right?
I'm not saying that in a pejorative way. Yeah. But if it's truly independent, you're only making 10, 20, 50, 100 objects a year. That's like the absolute max. Journe is for me, who makes 600 to 900 watches a year, is in a weird cross section on the graph between being like a bespoke independent and a branded, kind of a dynamic. He's in a weird place. But putting Journe aside, but real independence, or the Haldemans we were talking about the other day, or Dufours or whatever. On one hand, they just need enough people who are interested in what they're doing and put faith in their work to support them. And it's a relatively small group of people. The issue is that it's going to be per person at a much higher level of financial support than obviously, Rolexes or any brand that you would name, Hublot or even AP, whatever, where the average buy-in is significantly less. So there's kind of a blessing and a curse there, I think, for the independents.
Yeah, and the way of asking that question was more just my own background. I'm really focused around product market fit and how do you take a product to market? And so with watchmaking, it's very expensive. It's very time involved. It's not like you can start with a little bit of seed money and throw something out there unless you just get some cheap movement and throw something out there. I mean, it's phenomenally expensive, and so the challenges with watchmaking is a bit unique versus manufacturing any other kind of product, both because you don't have the volumes at your disposal unless you're going for, pardon the expression, I'll use a community term, shitter grade watches, and you don't have and it's just, you have to figure out what's product market fit without being able to put volume out there in order to test the market adequately. So there's a lot of interesting business challenges, I see it, to actually launching an independent watch brand.
I think that's why a lot of the better independents, the young guys, and there should be gals too. Unfortunately, I don't know that there is at this moment, but I hope that there will be female watch collectors, female watch makers as well. Daniela Dufour is, in fact, following in her father's footsteps and made her first Simplicity as her graduation watch, which is on her Instagram page. It's amazing. Daniela Dufour. Really elegant Simplicity she made from scratch.
It looks amazing. She's got beveling work to catch up on with Philip, her father, but she's doing good.
Yeah, but
he's a master of beveling.
It's Daniela #1, But to answer Ari's question, I think it's because I think most of these great younger, whether it's Rexep, whether it's Daniela, whether it's, I'm trying to think who else, even Philippe himself, Roger Smith, FP Journe, all of these watchmakers, the MBF guys, Rubo Forsi, they all worked at other watchmakers, either independents or major brands first, and really dug in and cut their teeth there, apprenticing or being mentored by, depending on the situation. None of these people appear on the scene sort of fully conceived and born, ready to go out and make watches. And I think by going through the old school traditional apprentice mentorship model, they are able to build up, if they're good, a certain amount of faith and trust in their vision and in their products. So when it finally becomes time for them to go off on their own and do their thing, they either have a brand willing to help them, or they have an individual watchmakers willing to help them. And I think that that's kind of how they're able to go, make that transition. I'm unaware actually of a watchmaker. I'm trying to think really hard, except for George Daniels, but he was the first. And he went through a massive apprenticeship of sorts. He didn't even make his first watch until he was 50 years old. Right. So I can't think of an independent watchmaker who hasn't apprenticed, trained, worked as a restorer, worked as a, worked a brand, worked being mentored by
vintage clocks, worked for an auction house.
I can't think of one. I can't.
There's none. There's actually none.
So very few 20-something startup independent watchmakers that make $100,000 watches and things of that sort. That just is doesn't just
very quickly, let me just catch up on the chat. Manfred Miani, sorry, I'm just mispronouncing his name. He said GPHG winner, and that's a good point. That's great exposure for brands. For those who don't know, the GPHG is the Grand Prix de Horlogerie. Sorry, that's a bit of a tongue twister, even for me, who's French. But yes, that's a great exposure. It's like the Oscars of watchmaking, right? That's the idea. So it's great exposure, not just for brands, but for especially up and coming watchmakers, who are starting their brands, who are in their infancy stages. And it's how kind of Ming rose to prominence. I don't know if you know, but I bought a Ming, the 1709 in blue, right? And one thing that I found interesting was, they're just different in terms of their design, and they're very cool. And I found out about them through their Ming Copper, right? The Ming Copper release, which ended up winning a Petit Aiguille prize in the GPHG. So it's definitely great to gain exposure for sure. We got Phil Marceau saying, I'm also in Montreal, found your streams last week and can't get enough. Great host and panel, upvoted. Thank you so much. Yes, guys. Please be sure to like the stream. Please be sure to like the stream. It's very important. We got the Real Cars and Corona with $10. He says, to the panel, if you could have dinner with a historic or present watchmaker, who would you choose and why? Well, for me, it's pretty clear. I would definitely choose Abraham Louis Breguet, considering what he accomplished in such a short period of time. Listen, I remember seeing, I think it was like a couple of auctioneers who worked for Philips. I think there was Oral Bax and a few others, and they all chose Hans Wilsdorf. And I'm like, I get it from a sense like of business acumen and understanding kind of his vision, but he didn't really accomplish, anything tremendous, at least in his lifetime, as compared to, Philip Dufour or even Roger Smith or even, for example, George Daniels, and especially not Abraham Louis Breguet, right? So to me, the answer is pretty obvious, but I guess we can go around the panel for this one.
I was going to say Hans Willdorf, not because of again, I don't have the appreciation of the watch history the way you do, Marco, but for me, just the sheer, gumption to start the business and get it going, the story of getting those first watches out. I mean, I think that always those business stories are super fascinating. So for me, it would be that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, sure. I personally would love to have dinner with Richard Miele. Richard Miele. I wouldn't ask him about horlogerie. What I would ask him is about his marketing strategy. How is he going to sustain going through time? He's been doing good for the past 10 years. What's his marketing and strategic plan to sustain, to weather the storms that's going to hit in the future? And how is he going to keep how is he planning to keep his brand going through the time? That would be I'm very curious to know what he has up his sleeve.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Although he's not technically a watchmaker, right? He's not technically, but fair enough. He's a owner of a brand, but yes. Go ahead, Cap.
I'll throw out FP Journe and/or.
Ooh, I don't know if you want to have dinner with him. I hear he's not a very fun person.
You'd obviously have to be there because of your proficiency in French, number one.
Yeah, but
and you can ask all the intelligent questions, or if Todd wants to come, I'll just lay back in the background, and you're both fully invited. We'll have a nice conversation.
I wouldn't want to be there. I'm sorry.
You'll have a nice conversation, and I'll have a nice meal.
I hear he's scary smart. I hear he's like scary smart when it comes to watchmaking.
Another one will be Frank Muller, but I'm afraid to say it because of the reaction
You're
that
getting kicked for that one.
Just for entertainment purposes.
Okay.
Just for entertainment.
I got to move on because I got chats coming in fast and furious. We got SLC Watchmaker. I did want to come to this. It says, what is a brand to follow and what makes you excited / love about that brand? I'd love to get Todd's perspective on this. And then
I've spoken about it before. I think a brand that I follow now and I'm hoping to get something from, but it's another independent. I'm sorry. I know there are lots of people here who are not independent, sort of people like me. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Cartier was something.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Was another Japanese, the really interesting, he works in Hokkaido, and I'll get the name. I'm just having a senior moment here, but there's another guy who's incredible who basically read George Daniels' books and started making watches there. He makes beautiful, beautiful watches. And
isn't that Roger Smith? Sorry.
No, not in Hokkaido. Not in Hokkaido. I'm going to look it up on my phone. It's really embarrassing. His initials are MT. So it's I can't even.
I'm just going to rotate out the panel because we got some people backstage.
Feel free to
Marco, I'll go out.
Okay, sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to get the wizard on the stream. Tim was backstage, but I couldn't get him on in time. Tim, if you want to jump back on, I can. I'm more than happy to let you on. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for joining, Stefano. I just want to get these super chats because they're coming in, and we got Rez with a $50 super chat. Thank you so much. He said, question for Todd. What is your take for 18 months of wait for a Crivia Reshepi or go for Dufour DB28 kind of gold?
I mean, neither. And what I mean by that is I think you go for the one that you really want. I mean, I don't know how old Rez is. Does anybody know? Roughly 30s, 40s? How old?
No, we're not sure.
Okay.
At least I don't know.
And the reason I'm saying it's like you're a relatively young person, you should be tenacious and be very patient and really go for the thing that absolutely is the thing for you and not settle. So
Masahiro.
Yeah, I think that's.
If anybody knows this, it's Cars and Chrono for sure.
Yeah, I think that's it. I'm just sorry, senior moment. So I don't think it's like this versus that. I think that's a situation where you probably know which one you really want. It just may be I'm going to have to wait 18 to 24 months for that thing, and maybe I can get that thing in 4 months or 6 months. And I really, my answer is then you wait for the thing you want rather than, thinking one is better than the other. Because that's the watches at the end of the day.
I think it is Masahiro Kikuno.
Yeah, that's
Kikuno Masahiro.
Yeah. That's it.
Watches and chrono knows. I mean, cars and chronos.
Yeah, cars and chronos. Well,
Kikuno, that's it. Masahiro Kikuno. That's it. Yes. I mean, I've even emailed the guy like, sorry. Yeah.
I will say this also. The way to decide these things, in my opinion, is flip a coin. And no, I'll explain to you, right? Flip a coin, and if the answer that you get is disappointing, then you know what's your answer, right? Which one you really want.
Okay, that's
what I do at a restaurant. If I'm picking between one thing or the other, right? Except in this case, you're spending hundreds of thousands instead of tens of dollars, right? That's the only difference.
Fair enough.
But listen, I agree with Todd 100%. Deep down inside, I think you know what you want. You just don't want to wait for what you want because, listen, I like Dufour. It's a great brand. Denis Flageolet is a great watchmaker. Let me preface by saying that. But I mean, to own an early piece, right? Can you imagine if you owned like an early Daniels or an early FP Journe, an early Roger Smith? That's what you're getting with Reshap, right? You're getting one of the very best contemporary watchmakers, and you're getting one of his early pieces. Those are sure to be collectible watches in the future. And listen, the DB28 kind of gold will always be around. The Dufour market, it's not huge. There's not a huge following, at least as of yet, and they're very eclectic watches, right? It takes a certain sense of style and taste to like those watches. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer. I would definitely go for a Crivia and Reshap and just wait it out, no question about it. Sorry, I just want to say, Rez, thank you very much again. $50, it's extremely generous, and it's an amazing question. So thank you very much for your input. We have Ali Reza, the Watch Sasquatch, with the $5.77. Saying, is there any watchmakers that applies the art and philosophy of Kinsugi to vintage watches, pocket watches?
No.
Sorry, Todd, I'm a bit lost. What is Kinsugi? Can you explain that?
Or it's also known as Kinsukori. It's in Japan, there is a practice that, particularly with ceramics, like a bowl, if we drop a bowl or a plate in the United States and it smashes into pieces, we throw it out. Seeing beauty, even in something that has been either destroyed or damaged, the Japanese having this wonderful aesthetic, this would go to a goldsmith ceramicist who would do their best to reattach the bowl or the plate together and fill in all the missing areas, the veins, that where lost material was, with gold. So it would become like this spider web of gold, and it would become, in a weird way, even though it was, one person would say it's damaged or broken, the Japanese way of approaching this, that it's even more beautiful now, than it might have been originally. Like if a watch got, dropped or broken or something, would somebody kind of find a way to attach the watch together philosophically, and then, like maybe use a different color gold and all the seams and stuff to hold it together, and in essence use the accident to create something new and even potentially more beautiful than the original was. I'm not saying more valuable, I'm just saying more beautiful aesthetically. So, but I don't know of anybody who does that, but it's a really super fascinating question.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, I'm going to be honest, I just learned something new. Thank you very much for the explanation. Go ahead.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually an additional meaning to that, right? And their philosophy, it's when you accept flaws and you want to embellish your own flaws by more beauty, by accepting there's a crack in the plate without repairing it to perfection. You want to show that it's been broken, but you put more beauty in it. And this also goes back to your own soul. When you study that and their ancient philosophy, how you can cleanse your mistakes by repairing them by something more beautiful. And that art is really a description that can highlight that cleansing of the soul from a different perspective.
Yeah, there's a Japanese proverb that says one doesn't accept the error or mistake, one builds upon it.
Exactly.
I have one.
I just want to thank you very much, Ali Reza, for the $5.77. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you for the questions. Very insightful. I got to learn something new. I had no idea about this topic. But, man, as it relates to watchmaking, I think it'd be kind of, I don't know, something interesting to explore, right? I mean, we're all about creating shapes and forms, and this is definitely something unique that I don't know any watchmaker does, to be honest with you. I don't think there is anybody, right? So
I think they're going to start doing that with the AP ceramics when they start breaking and cracking.
Yeah. That's actually, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Which is going to happen pretty soon, the way they're made. So
right, it's not looking good. We got the watch wizard Stefan. Thank you so much with the $20, saying hello, almighty guru savant old soul. This is towards your fish and chips London fund. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, listen, I'm still praying I can go to London. If I can, I'm gonna be. I don't want to swear.
Uber pissed.
That's why I'm gonna be
okay.
pissed.
You could be allowed to be pissed.
Extremely upset. All right, I'm gonna be extremely upset. That's all I'm gonna say. But listen, the plan is still to go, and it's looking good. It's looking good. Hopefully, fingers and toes crossed. Thank you very much. $20. I'll put it towards the anchor fund. The anchor fund.
There you go. The anchor fund. There you go.
Anchor fund. There you go. Toyota Mo with the $5. Thank you so much. Says, sorry, this is a little off topic. I just wanted to thank the Watch Guy Inc. for some advice he gave me for a friend that wanted to sell a watch. Oh, that's cool, man. That's awesome.
Great. Thank you.
It's good to see the community comes together and helps each other out.
Welcome to
Thank you very much. Sorry, you wanted to say something?
No, I said you're welcome to Toyota Mo. He's a great guy. Toyota Mo is a stand-up guy.
Super cool. I love him. He's like, we call each other brothers from another mother.
He's
my
a good
friend
guy.
out west, California represents San Francisco. Toyota Mo, thank you very much. We got wings and watches with the $10 saying for the anchor fund. There you go. I'm gonna add it.
Started something.
Hey, dollar by dollar. I'm starting to pay off the stitching on the Corn de Vache chrono. I'm starting to pay off the stitching on the leather strap. We're working our way up, guys. We're working our way up. Wings and watches, thank you very much. Let me add you guys to the stream. I don't love it when it's crowded like this, but
no, it's fine.
Fine.
Thank you very much, Wings and watches. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Work hard.
Scour, see if there's any good questions. Any good questions besides the super chat? We got AC Morgan with the $10 saying, "What a beautiful board, near perfection." Thank you very much, AC Morgan. Much appreciated. Listen, we're no Drew, okay? We're no Drew.
Yeah, exactly. Only Drew would make this perfect.
Right, exactly. We are no Drew. But thank you very much, AC Morgan. Much appreciated. Listen, we're missing Drew. We got B. Bardsley with the $10 saying, Marco, how ironic. I was talking to you today about Japanese watches. Has Todd ever heard of Masahiro Kuno? And his geez, I'm going to mispronounce all of it.
No,
temporal hour.
That's it. Don't worry. Marco,
temporal hour
for the question. And you're talking about the Wadoke watch by Kakuno. And it's an astonishing sort of invention, but it's an astonishing updating of this traditional Japanese way of telling time by the seasons rather than by the temporal hours. And it has both. It's sort of like the George Daniel Space Traveler. It has two modes of telling time within one watch. One is you can see the hands, the purple hands, which are telling the time by the inner ring there. The inner rings are the solar mean time, so to speak. And then you can see around the perimeter, there are the seasonal Japanese characters, and those expand and contract around that circle based on whatever the latitude is, the longitude is where the person who buys the watch is located. It's got a cam inside that can be switched out or rebuilt to accommodate wherever you are, so that this watch is telling the seasonal time according to this Japanese horological sensibility, but wherever you're located in the world. And so it's telling time in two different ways, contiguously on the same watch. And the temporal methodology of telling time has already existed in clocks before in Japan. But again, miniaturizing and getting this to work smoothly in a wristwatch, let alone alongside solar mean time as well, is like it's kind of a little bit like the accomplishment of Dufour with the the Grande Petite Saunière. It was something that people just thought was like impossible, and he did it. And these watches are all handmade, and they're absolutely stunning. But they're kind of big. I think that's probably a 48 or 50 millimeter watch.
It's 50 by 44, I think I was reading earlier.
You're wearing a big chunky thing like an work kind of thing on your wrist, which is a little too, maybe, I mean, I have a big wrist, but that's maybe a little too big for me even. But they're a thing to behold in person. They're gorgeous. And he's my favorite independent Japanese watchmaker. I think he's the youngest member of AHCI. I think he's like...
More than Hajime? You prefer him over Hajime?
Yeah, no. Yeah, definitely. This kid's like 32 years old.
Over Hajime? Oh, I don't know. That's a tough bar. That's a tough call. I do like Hajime, to be fair.
Yeah. I like them both. They're both great. I just
it's more so design related. I think Hajime's design are just more. I guess they're more commercial, probably more commercially.
Yep.
Like commercially driven, right? They're more round case type of watches. This is more
traditional,
very much an avant-garde type of design, right? It takes a certain type of collector to appreciate not just the watch, but also the complication, right? Because this isn't, this isn't for an amateur, right? Most people would have no idea where this starts. So, but Barsley, thank you very much. Again, guys, I'm learning a lot on this stream myself. So
this is great.
Very much for the very insightful super chat.
It's great. Kikuno has his own website. You don't have to put it up here. You don't have to do this now. But he also makes traditional round watches that are stunning in their beauty and don't have the additional temporal Wadoki complication on them. They just tell time like the way a normal quote unquote watch does. So if you're looking for something that's more traditional but yet beautifully made, there are other examples on the Kikuno website which you can easily Google and check out yourself. So.
Yep. Yes. Let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on one second.
No, you didn't have to do it. I didn't mean,
Here it is. Here we go. So this is the watch that we were just looking at right over here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mashiro Kikuno. I think that was 2015 release.
18 million Japanese yen? How much is that?
About $180,000, I'm going to guess. Somebody can correct me on that.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Todd.
One of the first Hodinkee articles that I read about a watch. I think this was about this thing right here.
Oh,
Todd, I'm sorry to say, but I'm gonna have to pass on this. I'm gonna have to do a strong pass.
Well, that's the most expensive watch though he makes. He makes, when you look at the other watches there, in your own time and stuff, you'll see that there are others that are significantly less expensive. But his output is only like 4 or 5 watches a year. He makes them all himself. I don't even think he has an assistant working with him. He literally lives in a small house with his wife and uses the garage as his watchmaking area, kind of like George did early on. And he's really working by the Daniels method. He does use CNC, but I think that's perfectly fine. But these are all literally largely made, in-house kind of things with, I think, some outside components.
Did it say 18 million, Marco?
Yes.
It's like $250,000 or something.
No. It's like
201,000.
It's about 200K Canadian, 200,000 Canadian.
I mean, this is all great, but I think, Todd, the community wants to know if you know if you can tell us about 7750, just real quick here.
Stop it, Tim. I think, come on. We got AC Morgan with a 5 Pray for Nico. Yeah.
Yes. Pray for Nico. I spoke
with
with him this morning, and he came on the site before.
He's okay. He's doing okay.
He's doing better.
Yeah.
But he feels very weak. Very weak.
Of course
he feels very under the weather. Let's just put it that way.
It's gonna stay for a while.
He'll get better. Yeah.
Earlier he jumped on the stream to say that he's going back
to make fun of Tim with the 7750. That's why he jumped on. So
yes,
drop the link. We got JJ. Guys, I'm just gonna reduce the panel.
I have to go. I just stopped by to ask that hot question of Todd.
I just don't know if you're talking to me about the Invicta. I don't know if you're talking.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Well, there's also a Valjoux 7.
Yeah,
that's another 7750.
Yeah,
there you go, Tim.
Yeah, I need a little more specifics.
Hey, Yeah, it's all good, man. It's a joke we have coming around, but
I
hey,
guess
man,
so. And the joke's on me.
the joke is on me.
No, the joke's on him, Todd. Don't worry.
Hey, all right, I'm gonna let JJ in, guys. Take care. I'll see you later.
Das Vidania.
I have a question actually when it comes to independence, because there is those very stubborn watchmakers like Journe, who only makes watches for themselves, and there are other watchmakers like Kari Voutilainen, where he is very open to commissions. You can basically choose the case, the dial, everything. Do you have any preference?
I don't know. I mean, I think Journe has to do things the way he does because he wants to produce more watches, 600 to 900 a year. If he only wanted to produce 60 to 90 a year, I'm going to guess Kari's output is what, 100 or 120 watches, 80 to 120 watches a year. I'm going to take a stab at that.
No, Kari's between 40 and 50, like about 50
Oh,
watches.
less even. Okay, I thought it was a little more. I thought his velocity was a little higher, so forgive me.
But he works with a lot of brands, right? He'll make a lot of dials for brands, so that's why his capacity is much smaller than.
Got it. Okay, but
he might have.
Maybe the less number that you make a year, the more, if you want to be, the more open you can be to collaborations with your clients. The more watches you make a year, the less that's going to be, because things need to be more plug and play in order to produce as many watches as you are. So it doesn't surprise me that Journe is, less so and Kari would be more so. But no, I mean...
yeah, because I had this conversation with someone before,
Mm-hmm.
but really, you have both side of views. One would say, yes, but I want to have, the true design of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he decided it was like this, and he is the artist, he is the master, he knows. Mm-hmm. And another friend was like, yeah, but I want also to have my say in my timepiece.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it both ways. I mean, even with Roger Smith or Dufour, they are amenable to certain alterations within very confined limits, which maybe is what works. It's not an anything goes dynamic, or it's my way or the highway dynamic, but it's a middle ground, a moderate dynamic, which says, yes, I'm willing to hear what you would love to have from me, and I may negate some of those things, and I may accept some of those things, and we'll get to a point where we work together on something to give you, hopefully, what you want that I still think represents me, if I'm the horologist, represents me as the artist, in a manner that I feel comfortable with, kind of thing. So, I mean, the only thing is, of course, the more a watch is customized, you really have to want that watch, and you have to want to wear that watch and keep that watch, because the more customized a watch gets, in many cases, I find the less sellable they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very odd choices of metals or patterns together, or colors, or all sorts of strange builds, which are outside sort of the more narrow norm. If you just want to buy a watch with like a blue dial that's like white gold or platinum, you're probably going to be okay. But if you're buying a rose gold watch with like a purple dial, that may be what you want. And if Kari will do it for you, that's great. But you have to realize, like, there aren't many other guys who are going to probably want the rose gold Kari with the purple dial. So there's also that too.
AP makes one with a code 1159, makes rose gold, burgundy leather strap on a deep purple dial.
Yeah. Purple was the thing just before green, in case you missed that.
Exactly.
The blue. After
blue, purple, green.
Yeah.
I just want to read out the super chat very quickly, guys. We got the captain with the $10. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate that. He says, perfection is the enemy of the good. Well, I think we had a discussion, myself and Cars and Chrono, who I hope he's going to jump on the stream when you're on here, Todd, one day, because I would love to hear a conversation between the two of you. He's a big fan of independence, like myself and yourself, and he's extremely well-versed when it comes to watches, just in general, but especially in the more niche topics like independent watchmaking. But we did a stream together, right? And I explained that I think that independent watchmaking is so interesting, right? Because it's a watchmaker's vision of perfection, right? They're chasing a perfect watch. And although they'll never achieve that or even some semblance of that, right, they can certainly try. And the byproduct of that is obviously the incredible watches and content we get to consume from these watchmakers. And to me, that's what's really important. And all of their work kind of builds up on each other, right? We go from strength to strength. And then you ultimately get to the point where we are today, which we have just some incredible watches, and what we'll have 10 or 20 years from now will be even better than that. So, it's a constant pursuit of perfection. And although we'll never achieve that, I mean, hey, I think it's great to see, the efforts that watchmakers are going to try to achieve perfection.
Well, I think the concept of the attainment, the attempted attainment of an ideal in any field is the thing that pushes the greatest artists forward and creates the greatest artists. In architecture, somebody like Frank Lloyd Wright is somebody who is always stretching for an ideal in terms of design. He knew that a lot of the technology and engineering he used would fail in his lifetime. The cantilevers would sag, the roofs would leak. He was aware of that, but he was reaching for something beyond that. And he knew that all that would be fixed eventually as technology caught up with him. Like, he was fine with that. His acolytes fixing all those problems 50 years later, finding solutions for those. But the general gestalt of what he was doing, he had to do, even if it meant he had to sort of transcend the abilities of the time. Watchmakers are the same way. Great visual artists are the same way. So musicians are the same way. So I think that attempted, that attempt to, at the attainment of an ideal, understanding that you won't attain it, but that's okay, but you're still trying anyways, is really like one of the things that defines the true artist with a capital A, regardless of the type of artist there.
I just want to we got Tap. You mind if I just rotate you out?
No, that's fine. I had to drop anyway, but I'm glad you had a very excellent discussion on that quote, and that's what I was kind of put it out there for. We all try to attain perfection, and it can drive you insane in certain ways, and you may never realize it in your lifetime, but you still end up with incredible pieces. But this panel's been tremendous. Awesome.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us.
I'll watch.
We got Gentleman's Hangout, JJ LeCoupe from the Gentleman's Hangout.
I was going to say, leave Captain on for a little while longer. I'm just came home. I'm just eating dinner. I'm listening in the back.
Let me know in the private chat when you want to when you want me to let you on. All right. If you don't mind, wristwatches, I'm going to swap you out. I want to get Wings and Watches on the show. At least give him a little bit of time. Sorry, I just prefer 6. It's okay.
You can move me out if you want to.
Todd, you should be more like this, and then we should go like this. I'm just kidding.
That's a good look. I think the center one is good.
Hold on a minute.
Freaking great
center
there. We got Gentleman's Hangout with the $2. He says, panel's thoughts on the Cartier Santos Large, the WHSA 0007. Listen, I'm not opposed to it. It's not ugly,
I like the way he says it. It's not ugly, but
I mean, listen, it's a great watch to get a Panda from your AD, JJ. It's a great watch to get a Panda from your AD. That's what it's good for.
I prefer the PVD one, the DLC, whichever one.
Oh no, that's even worse. I gotta be honest.
Ouch! Ouch!
It's even worse. No, listen, it's all right. It's not a bad watch by any means, but listen, I do like it. No question.
I like it.
Something cool and different.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the Santos is rich with history, right? It was the first men's wristwatch, technically speaking, right? It's also the first pilot watch because Alberto Santos Dumont wore it in flight, obviously on that famous day. So, I think it's definitely a watch that's steeped in history and definitely worth your consideration. I think Cartier is a brand that's extremely overlooked, especially today. Listen, they're not known for their incredible movements, right? But they're a design-based company, and that's really the way that you should evaluate their watches. And no question about it, the Santos is a design icon, no question about it. We got the Real Cars and Chrono with a $10 saying, Todd, know you're also a big vinyl/jazz fan. Thoughts on the vinyl record concept piece by Lin Yonghua. Sorry if I just butchered the name.
No,
Just my jam, but curious to get your thoughts on his pieces.
no, just no. That's my thoughts.
No? You don't like it
Seems
at
like
all?
they're aligned.
Just no.
Just no. That's
Just
it.
no.
Nothing else? You don't want to
Walk
elaborate?
away, just back up from your screen, turn the computer off, just go into the other room, take a nap,
Huh.
do something else. Just no.
There you go. That's your answer. I don't know what that means, but I
It
guess
reminds
no.
me of Jacob and Co. And that's
Oh my goodness, he's
Now
right.
we know what he means.
what it reminds me of.
I'm sorry, didn't
That's a
Cars and
big
Chrono
no. That's a
You guys
double
know
no.
Watch?
join
You
with
seen it?
Todd?
Yeah, he put it in the chat. Hold on a second. Let me just pull this up. He said was on super late last night on stream, so delicate balancing act with the misses. So he's got to be careful.
That's some of the information that I needed to know. Yeah.
And he's dying to see Todd.
Right, exactly. He's been saying like, man, I got to get on one of these streams. You know, I always miss every time you're on, but it's.
I'm gonna super chat.
One of these days.
Super chat you, Marco, so he gets on.
By the way, you know what I forgot to do, guys? What a quick wristwatch check. What are we all wearing? I'm wearing the Bruce Wayne today.
Nice.
We're in
The
the Speedy.
Tokyo 2020 Speedy Panda.
Nice.
In honor of our record today, the Dufour.
Hold on. Can I
Ooh.
pull that up? Let me pull that up full screen.
Wow, look at that center dial.
That is beautiful.
Now, you know what's interesting, right? That's
Lights up.
made by Metalum, right? And it's printed on the dial, if I'm not mistaken.
Right at the bottom.
Yeah. So Metalum is I think they also make, oh, look at that.
Wow.
Now that's spectacular. That's the money maker right there.
Wow.
You don't see that every day, folks.
Jesus.
No.
No, it's just a shame that, Todd, your lighting is absolutely horrendous. I'm sorry to say. But otherwise, listen. Oh, that's incredible.
Wow.
But yeah, that's
Did you
interesting.
notice Todd said you're number one? That's
Yeah.
what he told you. You're number one.
Yeah. Sideways.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that, Todd. That's,
Great watch. Beautiful.
Yes.
Just put a wrist.
Wearing a great
That's
health.
incredible. Absolutely.
Let's just answer this super chat very quickly. We got Juan O with the $5 saying, would Todd consider Moser as a good first independent watch? I'm thinking of pulling the trigger on one.
Yeah, certainly better than that Lin Yonghua for sure. Yeah, no, I think Moser is great, and boy, don't they make some gorgeous dials? I mean, I've looked at some of those dials, and gee whiz, I think some of those dials are just, I mean, they're just things of beauty. And I don't know what the price point is, but I've heard a lot of people in the clubhouse rooms, which I know you guys don't do, talking about Mosers. I seem to get the vibe that they're a really well-made watch. People are very happy with the Mosers that they own. That the price point seems to be in balance with the level of quality, you kind of get. And I just think they're gorgeous to look at. So I would think that's a great thing to do. I don't know. You guys, what do you all think? You probably know Moser more than I do.
Yeah, I think Ari, sorry, I just want to say, Cap, I'm just going to rotate you. I'm going to let Ari back onto the stream. I just want to give
Yeah, no problem. I'll interested to hear
You
your
can
thoughts
stay on
Moser.
backstage. Right.
I'm actually, I'm in the market possibly for a Moser or other independent.
It's true. Okay, so let's talk about it, right?
I'll be watching your answers.
So listen, Moser has a combination of both hand finishing and machine finishing, at least on their on their kind of lower end entry level pieces, right? Which is kind of frowned upon by a lot of watchmakers. But I don't really think there's a problem with that, in my opinion, because for one, it keeps costs down and it allows people to get into independent watchmakers at a much more accessible price point. So that's one thing to know, right? For some who are purists, the George Daniels kind of mindset, right, which is utmost quality, never use any machines or anything like that. They're kind of, they disregard Moser for that reason alone, right? But I don't think it's necessarily a problem whatsoever. But there's no question, Moser makes phenomenal watches. I mean, they're one of the only watch brands rather that make all their parts in-house, because their kind of sister company or their sub company does all the stuff that nobody really wants to make. The mainsprings that are extremely difficult to make, hairsprings, stuff like that. These are extremely fine parts that they're able to do in-house and keep essentially the cost down, right? Because the markup that they make on those parts from other brands is where they really make their bread and butter. So yeah, Moser is a phenomenal watchmaker, phenomenal watch brand. I'm a big fan of their Streamliner, their Endeavor series. I like as well the Pioneer. I think that's a great sports watch. I think you can't go wrong if you choose any of those three from Moser, no question about it. Did you have a point to make about Moser, Cat? Anything that you're looking at in particular?
No, I like Spence R's Moser. The dials are, as Todd said, I mean, they're kind of intricate dials, but again, you have to have something that aesthetically appeals to you as well. I understand the watchmaking aspect of it, and the hand finishing and hand in-house, so to speak, process, but you have to find one. See, this is a beautiful dial, but this is not. I'm not pulled to it. It doesn't pull me.
That's not the one that I've seen. That's really. I've seen like these ones that just say Moser, like just below the 12 o'clock, and like they're like red and they sort of sunburst out or blue,
yeah, they have a sunburst blue, the sunburst blue, and sunburst green. Very nice.
It looks so beautiful.
Yes.
I don't know which model it is though.
So this is the one that what's his name? Our friend Spence has, right? This is the Moser Mosaic, the Endeavor Mosaic, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Center seconds, right, is the model. It's nice. I mean, this is all, and again, we're going to handmade watchmaking, right? Because all of these dials are hand carved, right? So they're done, one by one, not in scale whatsoever. And, they're relatively affordable. I think overall, and the Endeavor center seconds are probably my favorite, especially this blue one in particular. It's just so classically made, just beautiful.
Beautiful.
And,
that is gorgeous.
I mean, come on.
All right, Cap, I'm sorry, man. I got to throw you off.
I'm out. Pleasure, gentlemen. Have a great night.
Is joining us. Thank you so much.
Hit me out. Come on, please.
We got Cars and Corona. How are you doing?
What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Todd?
I got to run through the super chats really quick, and then we'll get to the discussion. Or we got a great discussion next. We got Wings and Watch with a $5 saying, question to the panel: independent watchmaker. I think you meant to Rand, Reshep, or Sheppy. I don't know what Rand is. Reshep or Sheppy.
Yeah, it's Rexhep, Rexepi.
Rexepi.
Yeah, sorry, out of Rex.
And Acrivia. Yeah, amazing pieces, no question. I mean, you're looking to get one from Acrivia and the Chronomet Contemporain, right? And I know Cars and Chrono also wants or you're on the waiting list, right?
Yep, I am. Yep. No, amazing.
Can I ask you guys, what specifically appealed to you guys about his pieces?
Well, so for me, right, it's always 80-20. So as much as I'd like to get into the movements and first of all, the design aesthetics as well, why don't you pull it up on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Know what we're even talking about.
Good idea.
And actually, I think this was one of the ones that you hit as a recommendation when you did my... I
did a collection review and said you should get one of these early pieces from one of the very best watchmakers in the world. Yeah, no question.
There you go.
Yeah. So to me, it's just a super clean design, right? Particularly, to me, I prefer the one on the right with the white contrast.
Mm-hmm.
It actually kind of resembles that Cartier that you also called earlier as well as part of one of the recommendations. But to me, I just love the aesthetics of this. It's like nothing else I have in the collection as well, right? In terms of that center, ring that kind of mirrors the outer one.
Yeah. 100%. And this is a lot more classical, right? You're talking round case shape, kind of more traditional dress watch, right? Definitely more, in my opinion, will be much more commercially successful than Acrivia watches, right? Because their shape are a little, let's say asymmetrical, right? They're definitely not round case in any way, shape, or form. But Todd, did you want to speak at all? What kind of appeals to you about Acrivia and Reshep in particular?
Well, the chronometric contemporain, which you're showing, I just think it's sort of like the Dufour simplicity in a certain way. It's just a unimpeachable, super clear design. I think that the new iteration that he's going to be making or is making now, both in terms of beauty and in terms of movement, is going to be a real improvement. There's particularly going to be, from what I understand, a platinum model, two more models. One will be a platinum model where it's white gold. It's a white metal with a green blue dial, which sounds like that'll be absolutely stunning. And then I think there's either going to be a gold or rose gold variant with a different colored dial, which I don't think has been absolutely selected as far as I know. And I think the gold, the yellow gold or rose gold is 89,000, and I think the white metal one is going to be 99,000 Swiss francs, I believe. I could be wrong. That could change, so don't hold me to that. The Acrivia, on the other hand, is really just, I feel like, Rexep going, full balls out, kind of thing. The complications that particularly my favorite is the AK03, where he's put together a digital hour.
Jump hour, right?
Huh?
It's a jump hour?
Yeah, it's a jump digital hour with a chime, that rings on the hour, turn on or off, and the tourbillon. And I have none of those features in the watches I own, so I'm always looking. One of the things I like to look for are in watches I might be considering, or something that I don't have. I don't have a tourbillon. I don't have the jump hour. I don't have the, sort of the chiming complication, whatever kind of chiming complication it is. So for all those reasons, like this is the one I'm super, and I love the single hand that's sweeping around, which is the minute hand. I just find this a very elegant, balanced design in a certain way. And I don't know that I love the black per se, and there are other color options probably, but
you probably get like a hand hammered dial like this.
Yeah, I definitely would want the hammered one. I don't know.
Yeah, those are pretty like this is the hammered dial, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's what he's known for. It's always nice to go towards what the artist or the horologist is known for, kind of thing. This is more of a satin finish that's spiral ground.
You'd think these watchmakers would pull up good pictures of their products. You know what I mean? They have good pictures circulating.
Actually, it also reminds me
of I think if you go to the actual website, there's some incredible pictures of the watches that Mr. Levin just suggested, but the AK01 is another one that's.
But these are extremely interesting for sure, because I think they're made in the spirit of what independent watchmakers are all about, right? Which is, they're taking risks. These are not round case watches that are sure to have commercial success, right? They're very much.
Cases are all made by Hageman.
Yeah, by Hageman, right?
Made by Hageman. Those are little artworks. The cases are artworks in their own right by the greatest, potentially all-time case maker for watches, and somebody who's, I'm just saying he's very old. They basically pulled him out of retirement because he wanted to work with Russia, because he believed in his vision. He literally almost came out of retirement to do this. So those cases, until heaven forbid he passes away, I think that those cases are something that are like a crucial component that links like the old to the new, really historically in Reshep's watch.
He worked for Patek for decades, right? We're talking
decades.
Yeah. He was making, I think, all the cases for minute repeaters and
all the
all the grand comps, comp, right?
Yeah, the design kind of reminds me of that Tsunami from Hajime as well. If you pull that one up, it has a very similar design language on the front dial.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up 1 second. I just want to answer this super chat.
When I look at the brand, I looked at this brand a while back, and I was wondering, is he getting inspired from like a classical type of watches, and he's bringing more, I would say, sophisticated movement, and he's making them look like older watches from the 50s or the 40s? I don't get how is he taking that brand going forward? What's his philosophy to bring it forward? They're beautiful watches. They remind me a little bit of the Langa from One Way, and when I look at the watch, it reminds me of the old watches, the vintage watches from the, let's say, the 40s. So it's kind of in between. That's what I like about it. It just, I don't know how he's going to take that brand going forward, but that's a very interesting brand in my opinion.
Yeah, it's so interesting. He looks forward and backwards. He's one of the, younger independents that does that really successfully, as he's pulled Hageman in for like a case maker. And then, he's making his own new movements. They're all powered by the AK04 in those Acrivia watches. It's really his movement, symmetrical movement. You showed the back of one just for a moment. So it's really, I find it a really interesting marriage of, certain kind of old aesthetics, which are the very best of their kind, and a certain kind of new aesthetics, which are fresh developments, not just novelties, which we talked about before. And, the most interesting thing, which you're saying, which I agree, and the most exciting thing is, so where is he going to go in the future? And when I'm excited about an artist or a watchmaker or an architect, or, you know, and it's like, gosh, what's next? That's one of the best feelings you can have about somebody, when you're seriously jonesed about like what the next thing like they're going to do is. It's very rare to really feel that way, anticipatory about that person's like next iteration. That's a great sign.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Reshep actually started working for Patek at like 13.
Yep.
And then I think his late teens, he worked for FP, right? For FP Journe.
Yep.
And he mentored under him, and then he kind of started his own brand with the help and guidance, if I'm not mistaken, again, of Jean-Claude Biver, right? He's a big fan as well of Reshep. Yeah. And he definitely backs him. So he's got all the big players, and you know, he's been to the most prestigious watch brand of all time. Started working there as a teenager, then went to FP, who's probably the biggest independent watchmaker from a commercial sales perspective. Mm-hmm. And then he has the backing of maybe the most influential one of the most influential figures of the 20th and 21st century in the wristwatch industry in Biver. So yeah, pretty incredible.
We talked about that the better of these younger independents follow that sort of track exactly. Right. And greatness recognizes greatness.
Yeah.
And when these people, I think, finally saw that he was ready to go out on his own and what his ideas were going to be, they didn't have to question or think about. Their faith and their trust were already there in this guy because of what he had done and that he had proven himself. And that's exactly the kind of dynamic that we were talking about earlier in a best case situation in the watch world, at least.
Right. I just want to get to the super chat right here, and we're going to get to the Hajime piece that you were talking about, cards. We got SBSB with a $5.71 saying, I have a piece that is a very famous actor on the papers. I got no one to tell but the community. I just have to tell someone because no one else cares. Well, what kind of tease is this?
What's the piece?
Yeah, so who is it?
What is that?
I'm looking at the chat and I don't see any sort of name in the chat. Like, what is this tease? Come on. You can't wet our beak and then expect us not to want more. You can't leave us wanting more.
Yeah, but just building on what Todd was saying as well, right? Particularly with the independence, like there's no really, when it comes to greatness, there's no place to hide with these things, right? These pieces. Right. I do feel like there is somewhat of a self-selection process. So we were talking about that guy Masahiro. I mean, he was actually found by Dufour in terms of recognition. He got connected with Dufour, and that brought him into the circle and elevated his kind of stature in the community as well, right? Oh wow.
We got the watch guy with 140 million pieces. He says, for the fund of your choice. I'm going to put it towards the anchor fund. But I'm stealing your shtick. I'm taking that from you. The anchor piece, I like that. I'm trying to add a Corn de Vache chrono. That's the next piece, although it's going to be a long ways away. Let's put it that way. Long ways away. But I appreciate that's extremely generous. You didn't have to do that.
You gave up on the Moser?
Yeah, no Moser. I sacked the Moser. I canned it.
Yeah.
Too many guys told me
picking it up.
Yeah. Too many guys told me avoid it, so I avoided the piece 100%. So this is the tsunami that you wanted me to pull up, right? Yeah. And these have huge balances, right? The balances are nuts.
They're amazing.
This is beautiful.
These are
so beautiful
pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, can you speak a little bit? Because I don't know much about Hajime other than he makes maybe 5 watches under his brand a year, and that's pretty much it. And they're handmade watches in Japan. But if you want, maybe educate the viewers a little bit more about these watches.
Yeah, I think most folks are probably familiar with the Chronos, right? Yeah. I think the chronograph. So those are the more accessible pieces. But he also has a handful of these limited editions. I think Tsunami was the one that really put him on the map in terms of recognition and acknowledgement. I'm actually trying to pick one of these up, but the freaking lines, the cues for these are just ridiculous as well, because he doesn't make too many of these for the market. But right. Yeah, the finishing is really incredible as well. I mean, if you can also look at the movement.
And he's self-taught, right? He's self-taught, as you were saying.
Do you know the price offhand?
Yeah, I think these are going for roughly 150. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I don't know where they are. I don't see any of these in the secondary either. Like these will come up.
Never.
Yeah.
I would rather this than any hype piece out there, personally.
Oh I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's just holy cow.
Times 100 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, these are a different level, right? I mean,
These
you're
are
looking
beautiful.
at art here, right?
It says 26.7. No way, it's $26,700.
No, I don't think you're looking
3
at
million Japanese yen. Yeah, there's no way.
No, I think it's a different piece you're looking at.
Yeah, it's probably a different piece. I don't know what this is, but this is the
That's
one.
for sale for 20 million Japanese yen. Just tell me where to wire the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Get in line, Todd.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen. Can you speak at all about why he uses these big balances? Any idea?
Well, so with the balance wheels, right? In particular, with how you actually transmit power. So you think about like between the mainspring and the smaller balance wheels, right? The thicker the what is it? I forgot the freaking name of it. The actual spring, right? It actually delivers a lot more reliability and more, constant force of power, right, to the rest of the mechanism versus kind of these small balance wheels, which actually is a little bit smaller. So he basically takes the approach of trying to provide a much more, consistent sense of power through the gear train and the overall movement in the mechanism.
I'm reading the article now. It says it operates at 2.5 hertz, right? So I'm pretty sure most independents like 3 hertz because it's a much.
Yeah, so about 5 beats a second. Was it
right?
Right.
Right. So very rather slow, right? And I think the point is because it exerts less energy on the parts, right? So you get better long-term stability.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's probably the idea. Yeah.
But yeah,
I
like that design language right in the back with that large wheel.
I just want to say the watch guy, thank you again. It's extremely generous that you don't have to do that. Thank you so much. And guys, just want to remind everybody, we got 120 people watching. Please be sure to like the stream, guys. Please be sure to like the stream. It's extremely important. But it's been an incredibly fruitful conversation on independent watchmakers. And I mean, I got into independence, right? Because, it's kind of a natural progression in watchmaking, right? Once you start studying Rolex and Omega and, you're kind of major brands, right? Patek, AP, and there's only so much you can really learn about them, right? The natural next step is independent watchmakers. And the reason is they're so individualized, right? They're so personal. And it's so, you get such a variety from Hajime to FP to Philip Dufour to Roger Smith. Everybody's so different and yet so incredibly unique and beautiful in their own right. And that's what it's all about. It's watchmaking at its roots. That's the idea.
Yeah, I'm going to private chat you a link. So this was the piece I actually wanted you to pull up. It's the Project T Tourbillon.
Oh, okay.
So this is the one that...
Oh, yes, I've seen this piece before. Hold on, let me pull this up. There we go.
Yeah, and you can also pull it in English. I think this one's in Japanese. So it's the upper right, there's an English link.
There we go. Hold on, timepieces. And it's this one right here. There we are.
Is that an acrylic doll or?
It's a good question. Let's read it. It was cooperation, but this special feature. Ball bearing for tourbillon chairs, smallest in the world. 43 mils. Okay, that's not bad. 18,000 vibrations per hour. Interesting design of the movement. This is definitely.
And stainless steel as well for this piece.
It's steel movement.
It's beautiful.
For those who don't know, steel is actually an extremely difficult metal to finish. That's why a lot of watchmakers avoid it because it actually wears the tools very quickly.
I mean, I know, it was funny. I was at Vacheron the other day. We were talking about tourbillons and how it is such a useless complication. But man, they're pretty as fight. You see them in person when they're done right. I mean, it's really just pretty.
Very sleek. Very sleek.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you like something like this, honestly. I wouldn't say this is up your wheelhouse, to be honest with you.
Why is
really? Well, I've got the vertical turb. I mean, that's it's a very.
I don't know. Something about it's not.
Right,
I don't know. It's interesting. What draws you to this?
It has a sporty. Yeah, I like. It has a very sporty feel to it.
I agree. Yes.
It's just a very modern, I think, a take on the turb as well.
Okay.
Right, with those little radiators around the side. I mean, it's just very,
Beautiful.
That's fair. That's 100%.
No, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with this movement. It's even though it doesn't cry classic, it doesn't scream classic. It's really sharp. The way it's the execution is very sharp, beautiful.
I'm afraid to ask price on this one, guys.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Hold
no,
on.
this is definitely north of 6 figures as well. I think last time
Well,
I think
that's only normal. Where you're getting a handmade watch that's also a tourbillon. So yeah, that would make sense. I don't know. Let's look this up. Actually, that's a good question. Probably.
Are you ordering this Cars and Chronos?
yeah, this is one that I'm definitely considering. Right, you only have so many.
79,000. That's 8 million yen.
I don't think so.
Let's see.
You can see that off the website.
If it's 8 million yen, tell me where to wire the money again.
Yeah, it says 80,000 is about 80,000. Unless a blog to watch is incorrect. Let me look.
Wow.
This up.
I mean, what was the date on that? Because I got an email from these guys. I don't think it's
from 2017.
2018, man. This is 3 years ago.
What's the waiting list on?
It went up 20,000 in 3 years. Jesus, that's a big price inflation.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was quoted at least 24 months. This was also right in the early days of COVID, right? So over a year ago. So I don't know if that has had any impact on these.
So is it available or there's a waiting list? How is it working? Because
It's a waiting list.
There's a waiting list.
There's a waiting list.
I really like it.
I hope you get it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what is this?
Hey, put my name down next to yours. Can you shove me in?
Yeah, I can sell you my spot in the queue, man. If do a little bit.
Can you put my name down next to his, next to yours?
This is an interesting movement. It's not anything like this is probably distinctly Japanese because I don't know of any Swiss movement that looks similar to this.
It's so clean and neat, man. I love it.
It's
The
clean.
finish is just incredible.
It's beautiful.
The
And
anglage.
he's self-taught, right? You were saying he's self-taught? I think he was an artist formerly,
No,
right? If I'm not mistaken, something like that. And then he went to watchmaking school.
Yeah, Hajime. Yeah, that's right, Hajime.
Hajime, right? He was some kind of artist.
He
If
was
I'm not
design.
mistaken.
So he went to design school. That was
Design school. That's the one.
Design.
Right.
Yeah, he was one of the independents that did an apprentice with another.
Wow.
Is it 39 millimeter?
It's 43.
Yeah.
43.
Yeah, a little big. Definitely bigger. Has a lot of wrist presence, I'm sure. And it's a platinum case?
No, stainless steel.
Stainless.
Steel case. And the movement's in steel too?
Watch.
Yeah, this is steel.
Wow.
Interesting.
Folks, have a good night.
Take care, Ari.
Good night,
Thank you.
Ari.
All right, there are.
Let me add.
What else? What's in the queue? What do we got coming up? What's being added to the collection? Anything you have your eyes set on?
Me?
Yeah.
Rexep and Acribia. That's next for me. Which we spoke about before.
Yeah. I just want to pull this up. We got Perth Luxury with the $2 saying the Longa Cabaret Tourbillon diamonds on the tourbillon. I mean, yeah, it's interesting, but so does Langenhain also has diamonds on their on their watches. I mean, it's interesting. Let's put it like that.
I'm not a diamond guy. The only tourbillon watch I've seen with diamonds that really blew me away was the Viet Haldeman.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Haldeman or I would get
There's two
Langenhain.
diamonds, one on each hand, and that's all there is really. So it's
Right.
super like pretty quiet, relative. I'm not a big bling person.
This is the
That's the one. That's
Central
it.
tourbillon.
Just those two little diamonds on the hand.
But to me, I think that what's it called? This is the one, or this one right here. It's the what's it called? The double resonance tourbillon, right?
Yeah, the resonance tourbillon. Yeah.
This is nuts. I mean, this is incredible. I don't
That's
know.
crazy.
For
I've
me,
never
this,
seen one of these in the flesh,
Exactly.
actually.
this kind of reminds me of like a not so complicated deep space resonance from Vianney Halter that we had up the other day.
Uh-huh.
Because it's a resonance double tourbillon as well, right? Except it's like got a rotating kind of design. It's actually incredible. But I think also, if you're going to go German, Langenhain, not Marco Lang. Marco Lang is another amazing independent watchmaker in his own right. I mean, Langenhain, spectacular watchmaker, beautiful watches, really beautiful stuff.
Wow.
This is probably what he's most known for. But I like his chronograph. Let me pull up the what's it called? The hold on, I can't remember. That's not it. Yes, this is it. The Albert. So there's this one right here. I think this is probably the nicest, but the movement on this is spectacular. Really nice.
Wow.
Yeah, this is really spectacular. And it's a mono pusher split second chronograph.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I mean, I don't know of many people who are doing mono pusher chronographs that are also split second. Yeah. So this is another German brand, very underappreciated, very overlooked. Marco Lang has made I think 13 calibers in the last 8 or so years. So an amazing, ingenious watchmaker in his own right, Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other watch brands or watchmakers that we should discuss? I think we've been through the range tonight.
Actually, going back to the, when you were talking about the bigger balance, slower bit rate. Look at this one. I'm putting it on the private chat. It's called Antoine Martin. Sadly, the brand does not exist anymore. But it was very, very famous when it came out because it was the first one that operated at 1 hertz.
Oh, this is the 1 hertz watch. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the case back. Look at the size of the balance.
Oh, Jesus.
Whoa.
It's more like a science experiment almost.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
I bet you it's really cool seeing this in person.
If you can find a video of this, it's incredible.
2 beats a second, basically. I mean, you can actually see those springs bouncing.
Yeah, and we were talking about that. Apparently, it helps a lot with the keeping a steady time.
Here we go. Okay, you got a deadbeat second. No, it's not. It's just so slow that it looks.
Yeah, it's so slow. It looks like it's half seconds.
All right, show us the moneymaker. Here we go.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that thing.
That is so cool.
I wonder, is that real time though?
Yeah.
That seems slowed down though for 2 beats. One.
And the main spring is this.
Yeah, this is real time. It's awesome.
That's real time. Wow.
Jeez.
1, 2.
And look at that. The level of finish and with the lettering that's raised above. Wow.
Wait, so is this in production or is this just
it was the brand does not exist anymore. It was in 2013.
Nobody wanted 1 hertz pieces.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, but it got nominated in GPHD for that.
Now, Cars and Chrono, I know you wanted to speak about Todd, about your interest in music, right?
Oh yeah, jazz. Oh, absolutely. Right, but I think he goes. I checked out his stream. He definitely goes into deep dive esoteric stuff. I'm more because I was a big jazz trumpet guy back in the day.
Yeah, he's got I already forgot. What's that mixer that he just recently purchased?
Oh, Macintosh. Yeah, I got the integrated Macintosh turntable.
Right.
I wasn't sure which one you had, because I know they make 2 different models with that big disc. Yeah, but I went a little bit crazy because I upgraded my turntable as well. So a little Chet Baker, Dave Brubeck. I still have to zip little Getz Gilberto.
Yeah, I have that too. Yeah, it's great. That's a great album. One of the best of all time.
Love it, of course.
Newer pressing, or is that an original press?
Oh, this is original. These are all. Yeah, I try to go for original press, even from Japan as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so Japan, the Japan, that's what the folks go a little bit nutty for. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you got to really do a lot. Obviously, right? Going deep. I mean, where do you live, by the way?
I live in New York City and New Jersey. Go back and forth between the two.
So where do you usually go to pick up your vinyls?
I actually know a bunch of dealers around the country and sort of do it that way. I mean, I love to, bin dig, but during COVID, it was, harder and stuff like that. So, and I'm only really looking for the first pressings of some of these old Blue Notes that are 60 years old. And, the pressings were only maybe originally 500 or 1,000. And think of it, they're 60 years old. So how many of those even exist? How many got thrown out? How many got damaged? Whatever. Maybe 20% of them. So 100 or 200. And then how many of those were the cover, the actual album cover and the record are UG plus condition or better, which is all I buy. So in some cases, you're talking about like maybe 5 copies or 10 copies or 20 extant copies in the world, kind of thing. And it gets really hard. So you need people who are like that's their whole world. That's what they do every day, kind of thing. To find that sort of stuff.
So CB, he mentioned Tower Records exists in Japan. Yes, so Japan actually have had a lot of luck. So Japan, there are a lot of hardcore jazz.
Really
super
expensive.
Yeah.
Really.
If you're looking for those, it's always about supply and demand and rarities.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, and the problem is in most cases, and I mean, I speak some Japanese, but even then, they don't do a great job of like conditioning. They're like when I buy a record like that's that old or whatever, I need to know that somebody's doing a fairly good job of condition reporting to me both the quality of that cover and the record. Yeah. And sometimes these guys don't understand what that means, and they tell you one thing, and then you get it, and it's like, it's not that they were lying. It's just like they don't understand.
Yeah, different.
DB plus, NM minus. They don't understand this really, so they guess. Yeah. And it's
that's a great thing when you travel, though. Hopefully, when travel opens, that's one of my destinations. When I go to Japan, is making sure because they have all these little kind of speakeasy jazz bars. And you'll just see thousands of jazz albums, like the most esoteric stuff, which is just amazing. You just sit there sipping scotch with a few folks. I mean, you could just spend the entire night.
Will they sell what they have in their stash? If
some not, so they'll have select pieces, but no. I mean, some of these are just like OG original press. I mean, it's just obviously collectibles, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so what sort of artists are you into? What sort of
specifically? I collect a lot of Blue Note in general. I've been trying to put together. This will mean nothing to anybody except you, but the 1500 series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1500 through 1501 through 1600. It's a original first group of 100 Blue Notes that they built the entire brand on. It's the foundation of Blue Note. I have 94 of them. I need 4 more because 2 of the numbers were not used in that run. So there's actually only 98, though it's a run of 100. And so I have 94 of 98. I need 4 more, and then I'll have a run of original. So that's the kind of way. It's like with my watches, I collect in a very hyper focused, it's not random,
So folks aren't aware, right? You guys are looking at his timepieces, what he's described in terms of jazz album collecting. It's kind of, think of it as a very similar collecting.
Similar level.
Right? An approach.
I just want to get this super chat very quickly. We got the Humble Pine with the $20. Thank you so much. That first super chat for your channel. Sorry, I am old and can't always tune in live for these channels, but want to show my support. Thank you very much for the $20. It's extremely kind and generous of you. Really, really appreciate that. And man, we reviewed your collection earlier on Tim's stream. Absolutely unbelievable collection. No question about it, man. Listen, we're pulling your collection a little bit apart, just nitpicking, but no question, you got some real stunners in there. Yeah. So congratulations, guys. We got 18 more upvotes, guys. 18 more to hit 100. Please be sure it's important because it's good for the YouTube algorithm. And I think Logan asked a very good question. I have no idea what it means, but he says, do you guys have any MoFi records?
Mofis?
Oh, Mophie. Mophie.
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe I mispronounced that. My bad.
What about you? Do you collect any of the Mophie pressings? I don't, but I mean,
I don't.
yeah. The only thing I like by Mophie is their, you put the records in the rice paper sleeves. They make the best sleeves for records, I think. But
The one thing I also want to just go back, I don't want to bore everybody. Obviously, we're talking about jazz.
It's fine. I always appreciate a good conversation.
The thing I do appreciate also about jazz, right? Because I collect other genres of not only jazz, but it's like one of those things where you can just put it on the record player and just enjoy, and you'll just zone out, right? Whereas with other music, right? If you listen to Journey or some rock album, you want to listen to that specific song, you're not going to listen to the entire album unless it's like a rock opera. But the thing about jazz, like you'll just continue that one side, flip it over to the next side, and just listen to it in its continuity, which is what makes it really ideal, in my opinion, for vinyl as well.
Yeah, listening to jazz to me is more like reading a book, kind of thing. You can start and stop, but there's a certain flow to it. Mm-hmm. And having played jazz, in my youth a lot.
What instrument did you play?
I played percussion. Okay. I also have a doctoral degree in music as well as art history. So I kind of
this is subtle flex.
In the music world.
Oh wow, okay.
Jazz has always been a sort of wonderful, like endless font of, meaning to me throughout different stages in my life. I listen to a great deal of classical music, and of course I love a lot of pop, and I'm I have a broad taste, but jazz is really the foundation for me, really more than anything.
Oh wow, doctoral, yeah.
By the way, I just want to pull this up from SLC. I'm not sure if Tim answered his super chat yesterday or you heard it. Cars and Chrono, you wanna let him know what is the favorite watch in the collection? What's the favorite?
No, I answered it last. Yeah, I answered it. Yeah, it was a Chronomet Optimum from.
The Optimum, right? The black label Optimum.
Oh.
By the way, what are you wearing today? What's on the wrist today?
Today, Speedy Tuesday, my dark side.
No, you should be wearing the Optimum now.
Yeah, I just jumped on, man. I didn't know I had to get dressed for the occasion.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But by the way, Todd, do you mind indulging my curiosity? How did you find the channel, if you don't mind me asking?
You were on right after the Timepiece Gentleman.
It's my
classic.
claim to fame,
Complete opposites in this.
Right. It's my claim to fame, right? Yeah, but you mentioned this, right, Todd? It's like what's it called? A guilty pleasure, right? It's a little guilty pleasure.
I mean, as I said, I mean, look, some of this stuff that but I said I really enjoy like Roman Sharp's channel too, the gray market.
Yeah,
I think it's those aren't watches that I normally deal with in my life, so I find it's like voyeuristically enjoying watching what other people do, and it's really really fun, and I actually learn stuff too, and it's super interesting. Like I didn't really understand the gray market. I didn't understand what it was. Like that's a new thing for me. I'm very new to this compared to many of you, and so I have like still a lot to learn. And I'm all over YouTube and Clubhouse and all sorts of chats and shows and things and watching. So yeah, I think it's all great.
Interesting. Okay.
See, he loves independence, but he enjoys the rest as well.
Yeah,
even though it might not be for you, but at least you enjoy it.
Yeah, what's not to enjoy?
No, true.
You learn tons from these people.
So now that the time, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying it's constant learning. It's different aspects of the industry that you don't know how it works, and when you learn how it works, it gives you a different perspective.
It's all information. It's all useful, and some of it is as useful as much as what not to do as what to do. But it's all information, and it's free. I mean, it doesn't cost me anything but my time. So I spend, a certain amount of time. That's all I'll spend. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think Todd, like that completely resonates with me, and this is part of why I was really looking forward to chatting. Like you think about like watches. I was reading today. Like it's an onion. You can go so deep into watches, right? And there's just so many different aspects, right? When you aside from the heritage of different pieces, the movements, the technology, the stories behind the evolution, and even in jazz music, right? Obviously, you have a doctorate. I mean, there's just so much you can go in terms of the jazz aspects as well. And I know you're not as much into cars because of your house situation, but I mean, in all these different hobbies, I mean, for me, I'm really big into astronomy, and it's just made like I'm constantly learning so many things about a hobby that I've been, following for the better part of 30 years now. But you're always just learning different things about it, right? And it's something that constantly refreshes itself, like knowing that this week Jupiter is actually at its azimuth. We're the closest Jupiter, and you can actually go into your telescope and look aside from assuming you don't have light pollution. And it's constantly stimulating that intellectual aspect. And I think that's really a big part of what draws me to watches is like, it's just so much, like you can't know everything. You're always learning something new. I suspect even on today's stream, folks learn a little bit new about some of these independents and some of these pieces.
I learned stuff like I hadn't seen some of these watches. That's why I'm here. Like that was the point, kind of thing. I didn't know about some of these watches. So it was totally cool.
It's just a cool community of people. It's like you don't have many wristwatch hangouts. Watches are a very isolated hobby, right? You're very much isolated from a lot of people. I mean, listen, besides the watch guy who I recently met, I met one other person from Montreal, but I only met them because of this, right? Because of YouTube. Otherwise, I don't know anybody who's into watch. My parents think I'm absolutely mental to have not just 1, 2 Rolexes at my age. Like, what are you doing? Just buying the PAM, which was, compared to
mental. What about a whole bunch of guys hanging out on YouTube, talking to each other? Every time my wife walks by, she looks at it, she's like, shit.
Not again.
Hey, listen, it's just a great way to hang out. I just want to pull up this super chat from Tim. We got $5 from Tim Wright saying, come to the Tim Wright channel where we learn basics, like what the 775.
Oh my! He's not giving you a rest.
So I wanna comment about this, okay?
Yes, please.
I think look, and earlier I was gonna say something and I did not. And look at this conversation we're having tonight. It's like a perfect conversation between people that they have a common denominator, just their love for the watches, and we're exchanging from different point of views between people that they have completely different experience, and we're trying to find common ground, and we're just teaching each other about the watches, the philosophy, and it's all that art related to that. And then when you look at, and my point here is not to point fingers at anybody, but now it's the second time I hear about the 7750. What I hate is when we bully people and we put them in some situations where, they look bad. And this is not what this community is all about. This community is all about collaboration, helping each other and learning and discovering new things. Like tonight, I learned like tons of stuff just looking at this Tourbillon. I fell in love with the watch that basically going to cost a fortune. But, all that put together, same people, that they're quizzing other people about the 7750. I can put them on the spot and ask them questions about the 2824, the 2894. Where is it used? I can put them on questions about the different Lemania movements on the spot. This is not the point. No one knows all the serial numbers and all the movements at all time. And you know what? Kudos to Tim. The guy is a great guy. He's a stand-up guy. He took it, But at the end of the day, we're not here to do this. We're here to help each other and enjoy our time, spend quality time together.
I think there's just different streams that have a different philosophy of how they draw in clicks and views, right? I mean, it's that, but I get it. I mean, this is a place like I don't participate in these other streams because I know what it's about. It's not really about having these really open dialogues. And to your point, as well, the watch guy is like nobody can possibly know everything. There's just too much. Like who the heck?
Too much.
I don't remember every single movement number of all my pieces as well, right? It's just
the 6498 caliber. The by the way, it's like what kind of question is that? I heard about it one day, so big deal if I remember what it is. It's not important.
I mean, Cars and Corner, you were even asking me yesterday about the Speedmaster, right? Like references for the Speedmaster. Like, listen, I'm not the biggest Speedmaster fan. Most people know. Like, you can't be an expert in all things. Speedmaster just aren't of interest to me. So if you ask me, which you did ask me, like, what's the reference that went to the moon? I don't know. Like, I could take it.
But I wasn't putting you on the spot, just so you're aware.
No, I'm just saying, right?
Like, at all. Like, I'm a big astronomy guy.
I just want to make the point. There's no shame in admitting you don't know something. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're in the moment, right? Somebody asks you a question, like, I asked you today, can you speak a little bit about Hajime? Because I don't, like, apart from him going to design, I called it art school. I didn't even know he went to design school, right? Apart from him going to what I thought was art school and him becoming like an independent watchmaker who learned, you know, on his own, and he owns, he also has Corona, which is a lot more accessible to the wristwatch market. I don't know anything else. You know what I mean? I knew about the bigger balances. That's all I knew. That's why I was like, listen, and this is what the community is all about. It's about building each other's knowledge, right? Because we're all into different things in certain respects, right? And we can all learn from each other. So no shame in admitting you don't know something.
Lesson I learned very early on, but that my parents told me: just surround yourself with good people. You don't need life is too short, man. Just surround yourself with good people, right? So
my grandfather used to say, "Show me your friend, and I'll tell you your person."
That's true.
We're all here for the evolution of time.
Right.
You jazz folks, Todd and Cars and Cronin, because we're the older group here. You guys listen to swing at all?
not me personally. I
swing.
never really got into
Okay.
swing. I mean,
Like Count Basie, Goodman, you know, the old classics.
Oh,
Wellington.
well, yeah, I don't think of that as swing, really.
Oh,
Because,
okay.
I mean, Ellington particularly was, one of the greatest artists of the 20th century, period, end of story.
Oh, yes.
That's it. And he was such an innovator in so many
Yes.
ways, rhythmically, harmonically, melodically, orchestrationally, I mean, when I think of swing, I'm thinking of a specific period in the 40s of like Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller.
Oh, Goodman,
In
Glenn
the
Miller.
Mood,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like that kind of.
Andrew Sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
Postmodern Jukebox. Yeah.
Like that was a certain
Yeah.
thing. But when you're talking about the names that you put out for the most part, I don't think of them as really so much as being a part. I mean, they lived through the swing area and they created work that, you know, was affected by and affected the swing area. But I don't think of them remotely as like swing artists in any way, shape, or form. Particularly not Ellington, who, as I said, I think was as great as Stravinsky in terms of being one of the great musical minds of the entire 20th century. Yeah.
How about jazz fusion, funk? You into any of that?
Absolutely. Listen to a lot of it, particularly Korea, you know. And I like some of Miles's electric stuff as well. When it gets weird, like Mahavishnu Orchestra, it kind of loses me because it loses its jazz edge. It migrates into some other territory, which isn't of interest to me. So as long as it maintains its fundamental jazz stance facing forward, then I'm usually okay with it. But when it really starts to migrate, where jazz becomes a sort of side component of the entire thing, rather than at the significant central dynamic, that's where it'll start to lose me. So,
what do you think about the movie that came out with Miles Teller? I forget the name. Whiplash.
Whiplash. Yeah, you know, like it was clear that if you know, particularly as a drummer, I mean, you know, the lead character, the teacher, was based on, you know, and his foul mouth and his attacks were based on the famous Buddy Rich band tapes. There's these famous tapes of Buddy Rich screaming, hollering at his band on the bus, swearing at them. That were, you know, a big deal at the time. It's not so big deal now. And the drum style, particularly the solo at the end, was modeled on Buddy Rich, like very clearly modeled on Rich's approach to soloing. So, you know, all in all, I thought it was like a fun movie, but particularly being a percussionist, you know, I knew where all the references were coming from. So it wasn't as fresh for me as it might have been for somebody like a general watcher. But that's cool too. You know, it was
also a good movie. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah. But the movie is more, but the movie is more of like it's not really has to do with jazz, I don't think. It's more of the idea of the obsessed artist, right? Someone who's willing to kind of give up everything to pursue their dream, right? I think that's more
what we were talking about earlier, like the attainment of an ideal, even though you're not going to get there. It's in the attempt at that attainment where the artistry lies somewhere.
I just want to pull this up very quickly from Humble Pine. He said, Watron, thanks for your thoughts on my collection. I just watched Tim's channel. Someone asked me about the Datejust 36 two-tone. I'm Korean and exchange watches with wife, wanted to coke, so I got that too. Yeah, so we did a review on Tim's channel of the Humble Pines collection. I really just had like 3 watches that I would change. I think his collection is like amazing, but it's just really nitpicking. I would change the Datejust, the 5146 that he had, because he has a 5205, so it's 2 annual calendars, even though they're different styles. and the code 1159. I would just replace them for a weekly calendar. I'd like a Historiques 1921 in your collection, just as a point of difference, and to add some Vacheron.
And then FP Jordan.
And an overseas. No, forget the FP Jordan.
No,
he's not
FP
an
Jordan.
independent guy. Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay.
mostly Rolex, Patek, and AP, right? So I think he sticks to his kind of major watch brand. But that's kind of my.
안녕하세요, humble pie.
I just want to say to Jesper Johansson, who says, "I see so much cool watches here." That's what it's all about. And Frank says, there's busting balls definitely part of the community. No question. But sometimes it gets taken to an extreme, and that's kind of the point I think that we're making is that, it's that's not what it should be about. You know what I mean? That's not what it should be about.
Yeah, but it's like there's two ways to bust balls, right? There's busting balls knowingly, like where the person whose balls you're busting is in on the joke.
Right.
There's another way of busting balls where they're
Was
not
laughing with someone and
not in on it. And that's it can become abusive. It's done specifically to like shame or
ridicule,
make somebody feel unknowledgeable or foolish. But if somebody's in on the joke, listen, you got to have a thick skin and a great sense of humor. And if somebody's like my friend, I have a really, really good buddy in the art world, Ralph. He busts my balls about everything every goddamn day. I mean, all day, every day. It's like something. And, but he does it like in such a way that it's like done with so much love and yet totally like tears me down to size. So when you have friends like that, that's awesome. So
you can take it. Do you dish it out back too, Todd?
Of course.
Of course. There you go.
But it's done in the same way, right? I would never say anything to embarrass him or make him feel bad about himself. But I could certainly take him to the rack for like something that I think is like goofy, and I have no problem doing that on a regular basis. But
it's friendly banter.
There's
nothing wrong with that.
And respect, mutual respect, and that's
exactly
whether it's a relationship with your significant other, whoever that might be, or it's a friend, or it's your parents, or it's your child. It's like I have the same sort of relationship with my daughter, kind of thing. I mean, let me tell you, she'll tell me when shit's all fucked up. Forgive the language with me, but that's okay. I don't mind.
It's cool.
Yeah.
You guys remember the Cotton Club, that movie?
Yeah,
sure.
Of course, yeah, sure.
Did you ever watch the new Disney Soul?
Fell asleep, actually.
Yeah, I did. Pretty good.
It's a great it's not a kiddie movie, but it's based on jazz, a trumpeter. It's amazing. It's really cool.
I gotta rewatch that. I think it was pretty late.
There's a couple other good ones. There's one of I'm already forgetting the name and the actors involved. There's one where I think it's called The Green something. It's about this pianist who went around kind of the south of the United States, an African American pianist.
Green Book.
With the Green
Book, yes.
That was another great movie.
Great, amazing.
And then I think they did. I haven't watched it. I think Don Cheadle did a documentary or a movie as Miles Davis, kind of recapping his life. Did you guys watch that? And any feedback? Is it good, bad, ugly?
Miles Ahead.
Yeah, something like
Miles
that.
Ahead.
I don't get to see it.
Something that's definitely worth watching if you're a jazz aficionado, or even if you're just like passingly interested in it, would like to know more, is Ken Burns did a really good.
He did.
And I'd say the first half of it is really good. The second half of it kind of veers a bit off course when it gets into the more contemporaneous jazz. But the first half of it, like Satchmo through Ellington, is like basic crucial jazz history that anybody who wants to know about jazz should know. It's just like the basics. But that is those, if it's, I don't know if it's like, I can't remember if it's like 8 or 9, 2-hour sessions. The first 4 or 5, that thing, Satchmo through Ellington, is something that everybody should watch if you have the remotest interest.
Absolutely. I think there was some criticism, though, laid against it that it was too mainstream in terms of what artists he was focusing on versus going to some of the more...
Particularly later, but in that first part, like he really hits, again, it's a survey, admittedly, and an incomplete one, but he really hits certainly all the high points. Like these are the artists you really do need to know as like a basic foundational level.
Right.
And these are the recordings. He even has the key recordings by those artists. It's a decent survey at the beginning, but yes, definitely the later stuff kind of becomes a little not a little. Becomes uneven and skipping.
Satchmo is, I mean, he's a god of the trumpet, right? That's Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, another one of the greatest artists.
He's buried in
20th
Flushing
century.
Cemetery.
Yeah,
and they encrusted in marble his trumpet on his tombstone. Yeah. It's truly amazing to see if anybody's ever in New York.
What might not be a bad idea is playing a little jazz music for these streams, man. Have a little background music going.
Yeah, well, I'm working on that with my Rebel streams. I'm working on it for my Rebel streams.
Have a little bit of music, kind of background.
Yeah.
I like that. We got Tim Wright with the $5 saying, I wasn't saying that Todd didn't know what the 7750 is. Yeah, we know that's not what we're saying. He's clearly
it's fine. It's fine.
I was saying that we generally learn basic stuff. No, I think our point was more.
Oh, yeah, no. I was not speaking to Tim. Gee whiz, absolutely not. I didn't mean this in any way, shape, or form. This was just
no.
Yeah,
I think Tim has taken this to heart too much because
I would feel bad if he did.
The guy that I won't mention, his name will not be spoken.
We don't mention him on this.
That's right. We don't mention him on this channel.
We don't mention him on this channel anymore, guys.
I don't know who you're talking about, so it doesn't even matter.
Todd's smart man. He knows.
I don't know.
Oh, the village gate.
There you go.
Oh, gets at the gate.
That's fantastic stuff.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Our buddy Cars and Chrono.
You did not have to explain yourself, my man. We're just saying, right? Like, listen, we all are collectors at different levels, right? Some of us have been collecting for 1 year. Some of us have been collecting for 5 years. I've been in watches 6 years. Stefano has been a watch dealer for 40 years, right? So, I mean, listen, we all have different levels of experience in this hobby, right? And the point was that, it's not conducive, or it doesn't help us grow and learn as watch collectors and as a community, right? As we like to say, as a community of watch collectors, to kind of shit on each other's level of knowledge, so to speak, right? The point is, we got to build on each other's strengths and what we know to be able to really have a productive conversation and be able to learn from one another. And Jesus Christ, we got SLC Watch. What the fuck is this? We got SLC Watch with a $200 donation saying, thank you for the watch/jazz talk and community's education. Love learning about different watch brands and making new friends. SLC, if you want, man, why don't you jump on the stream? I know you've been on JJ's stream before. If you want to jump on, please, I will rotate.
I don't recall ever meeting SLC. I don't know if he was.
SLC came on JJ's show. He showed off. He had the 5235G on the wrist. I'll never forget that. This is my favorite modern Patek that they make. Like, I can't forget that. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Very generous.
$200,
man. Todd, you and I, maybe we should start a stream together. What do you think? And we're guys.
Ooh.
Now this is very special.
Now you're talking very ultra special. Hank Mobley. Oh my goodness!
You can tell by the shine that this is original.
Yep.
And what really, just a sidebar, right, based on the watch things, but because we're talking about jazz.
Yes.
This record is a transitional record in the Blue Note.
Huh.
Because when you look at the LP itself, and I don't know if you'll notice this. So I don't know, can you see the address right here? It says 47 West 63rd.
Oh, yeah. Tower? No.
Yeah, it's hard to read. It's not coming out.
Yeah, you got to read it to us. We can't read that.
It's the inner circle here. It says 47 West 63rd Street, New York.
It's too small, even for me. I have 21.
Is that Tower Records?
When I turn this around, it says 47 West 63rd, NYC 10023. Different label, front and back.
Wow.
We were switching from this label to this label.
Wow.
This is transitional. Most of them either have two of these or two of these.
Wow.
There's probably, I don't know, the argument, how many there are.
Yeah.
Very, very, very few. Excellent. One of these just sold today on eBay. So that's why I was bringing it over, because it's literally today.
How much?
$5,800.
Wow.
Jesus. So Todd, I don't know, man.
This I dig of you.
I did not pay $5,800.
No, of course.
I'm just telling you that. I did not pay that. But that's what it just sold for today. And to be honest, that's probably about like the fair going price for it. You know, that's
Have you purchased from eBay though? Have you or do you work primarily through your dealers? Like, what's your?
Oh, I've bought on eBay with dealers there that I know and trust. You know, people who I've worked with before and probably have established relationships. So when I buy something, they're like, "Oh, hey, hi again, how are you?" You know how that goes, kind of.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
Todd, we'd appreciate maybe after the stream, we'd love to connect and maybe get some recommendations from you as well.
Sure.
For folks that don't
Anyways, I'm not going to bring over.
He
$100.
just sold something very holy.
I'm just bringing over that one thing. If you're a Blue Note collector, that's the equivalent of a Dufour, or or
he's something else.
That's a grail right there. So,
Ricardo Bossa Nova, This I Dig of You, Dig Des. Amazing songs by that artist. Amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, also one of the greatest saxophonists.
Oh hell yes. The Blue Note, baby, the Blue Note.
Have you? So, do you remember Mondo Cane?
Oh sure,
Mondo Cane.
Yeah. So I went to NYU, so that was a favorite spot of mine as well.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, they had some amazing acts in there as well. I mean, the jazz scene down there in the village.
Yeah, it's sad too. Like I don't know now what of the clubs like Milton's or Blue Note or just which one of these are going to survive and which ones aren't because of the whole COVID.
If they have even survived already.
Yeah, it's just sad. Anyways, I didn't mean to get too far off on this, but yeah.
No.
I just want to say thank you again to SLC Watch Collector. $200 is extremely generous of you. I did drop the link in the chat, so if you want to jump on, man, I'd love to have you on. No problem at all. But of course, I totally understand if you can't make it. I appreciate your generosity and of course your viewership, guys. Thank you very much. We hit 100 upvotes on the stream. Very, very good for the YouTube algorithm. I mean, how do you move on from this? But I do have to. So SLC, thank you very much once again for the generosity. We got Frank B with a $2 saying, panel is Billie Holiday, the greatest female jazz S.
Great, but not the greatest.
Okay, somebody's posting some weird shit in the stream.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Slightly annoying.
Some trollers.
He's getting banned. Yeah, he's getting banned. I'm sorry
Little
about
troll
that.
fuckers.
That's
Yeah, I don't know why he does this, but
they love you. The Fikers love you, Cardinal. They love you.
He's getting banned in the YouTube chat. It's just showing his.
Don't show him no.
Right.
So to answer, I don't know. What do you guys think? Billie Holiday or Nina Simone or Big Mama Ella? I mean, there's so many of them. Who do you pick, right? Josephine Baker. There's so many.
I don't know how you go about picking goats for.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, they're all great in their own way.
Yeah.
I don't.
She was one of the greats, but not the greatest. I mean, if there is such a thing.
One of my favorites as well. I'm a huge Nina Simone fan. I got a Nina here, actually.
Todd, you ever go down to the Zanzibar Blue in the Ritz-Carlton in Philly, downtown Philly on Chestnut Street in the basement?
I haven't. I don't even get to Philly. Oh, nice. That's old pressing, or no, that's going to be a newer pressing because that's like a
this is a new one. This is actually my wife. Yeah. She actually picked this one up. Yeah,
classy, very classy,
very nice.
Dude, Todd, we got to start our own stream, man. We got to rebel stream against these kids. Teach them.
Frank, thank you very much for the super chat. I just want to move on very quickly. We got Roar of the Tiger with $5 saying, besides cannabis, Armstrong had an affinity for Swiss Chris. Is everyone familiar with the story about Armstrong and it as told by Tony Bennett?
I am not.
I don't know. No? What's Swiss Chris? An old form of crack? Hash? Shisha? What? Let's look it up. Now you're making me wonder. Swiss Chris.
I don't know what Swiss Chris is.
Yeah,
one thing for sure, after this stream, I'm going to the attic. My grandfather left over 200 records, including jazz stuff. I'm going to put my nose in there and maybe send you guys some pictures.
If there's any that maybe you want to unload, give me first dibs, all right?
I have no idea. I never looked at them. I know that they're still cased and wrapped. They're sitting there.
Herbal laxative tablets? I doubt he's talking about that.
That's not good. Doesn't sound.
That's not good.
And I'm very sorry again, Todd, for that
You don't have to.
Wait, why apologize to Todd?
I just didn't know if you can hit a button because
yeah, he's getting banned in the channel. It just shows up on the stream.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's a way to immediately just like block it, sort of thing, one time, like on Instagram. You block somebody.
I don't know why it doesn't automatically get blocked, to be honest with you, given his name, but it is what it is. We got Mr. GMT with a $20 saying, awesome to see such a classy panel. Thank you very much, Mr. GMT. Much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, where do we go from here, guys? I mean, we're talking watches, jazz music. Todd, I want to say, of course, thank you very much for joining me. Obviously, an amazing panel. Mr. GMT with the $20. Thank you, my man. That's my guy. Every stream that has been a major milestone, Mr. GMT has been there to celebrate it with me. So always your support is much appreciated. Thank you so much. And we got Aaron Levin with the $10 saying, I'm curious on how a guy with Todd's taste would approach building a collection of 5 pieces with no one watch costing over $15,000, and what would those pieces be?
Well, it's the same thing you and I discussed already, Marco, which is like, it doesn't matter the price point. It's like, if you have $75,000 to spend on 5 watches, it's about first of all, educating yourself. That's the first modality before you even open your wallet. So, closing your wallet and studying and educating yourself. And eventually you're going to start to narrow down the field based on that. And once you've done that, you'll know that there are specific watches within that range that are the really most important ones that you can afford. And those, again, become the anchor pieces. And then once you've gotten 1 or 2 of those, the other 3 or whatever watches will probably reveal themselves once you've got a couple of things in hand that are going, like the central crutch. But in terms of specifics for $15,000, there's like an infinite amount of choices. So, I feel uncomfortable putting out specifics because I don't have any idea about what that person's taste is. And so as an advisor, like in the art world, I spend the first 6 months just getting to know somebody and understanding how what their taste is, how that taste was developed, so that we can get to a point where we can start to decide specific pieces. But you can't do that like in a setting like this. It's impossible. It's an impossible task. And I would feel super remiss if I just threw around names randomly that might or might not make any sense or have any appeal to the person at hand, just because they're names.
It depends also your kind of tastes as a collector and what in my opinion, your occupation is. Because listen, I can tell you to build a collection of Moser, Kudoki, Habring, and Torsti Lane, maybe Pascal Coyon, who I think are 5 independent watchmakers that I really like. But if you're you work a blue collar job, you work especially with your hands, or you need robust watches, all those watches, I'm sorry to say, are going to be frankly useless for your lifestyle. You know what I mean? As beautifully made and finished as they are, they're just not practical. So the idea is, right, it really depends on your personal taste. And I would think your occupation is also extremely important, because you're wearing these watches every day. You have to factor that in. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I wouldn't even look at 5 pieces. I'd be like, maybe just find out 1, right? There is something to be said about less versus
less is more.
Right. I mean, that does sound very cliche, right? But it gets to a point where I understand there's different philosophies and approach to this. To me, it's not really a grail piece, maybe a grail collection of a few that you just are very passionate about. Like, there's always a question that I get posed. You probably do as well, Todd, and everyone else on the panel. Like, what's your favorite piece? And to me, immediately it defaults to my deep sea dweller because it's a gift from my wife. Right? It's not. Obviously, I love scuba diving, but it's because it's for my wife, and there's just such an emotive connection to that. But beyond that, because I span the collection, there's really only a very small handful that I'm super passionate about, and others, it has me even rethinking.
I can add one point that I would give the person, and only one, and it's a general point, but it's much better, whether it's watches or art or Blue Note records or whatever you're collecting, to buy less items at a higher price point and higher quality. So if somebody said, I have $75,000 and I'm going to buy 5 watches at 15 each, I'd be like, no, you're going to either buy 3 watches at 25 each, or 2 watches at 37.5 each, or 1 watch at 50 and 1 watch at 25. that 5 watches is unnecessary at 15. I'd rather completely rethink that component of the argument, if I could do that, and tell them that at a maximum 3 watches, I would suggest buying one great watch for 75, or if that's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to have more than one watch, 2 watches, and spend 40 and 30 or 50 and 20 or 37.5 each or something like that. You're always better off stretching to buy better quality and owning less stuff. Yeah. Fundamentally.
So it's interesting, Todd. I'm 100%. So I'm at this crossroads where I've been having discussion with also Marco, and he has some insight into this. So I'm a huge astronomy geek.
Yeah, we were talking.
Don't reveal anything. Hold on.
I'm not revealing anything. But
we got to do the stream about astronomy together, right?
I will not reveal it. All I'm saying is I'm a huge astronomy geek, and there's such a connection with what we're seeing on these wrists. I don't think people realize the connection this has to do with the general universe and everything out there. And it's gotten me thinking around a piece where I'm going to basically consolidate pretty much the vast majority of my collection into a single piece that I know I'll never be able to sell, right? I mean, that's not really what
that German, who's the German artist? I want to say it's like his initials are like, it's like Christian.
Vanderclaw?
Huh?
Not Christian Vanderclaw, right?
Yeah. Like he makes orreries, literally. They're orreries on the wrist. Mm-hmm. Is that who you're talking about?
No.
Okay. Okay.
We'll say no, but we're not.
You're talking about, the movement of planets and systems, unless it's Jacob and Co., which I don't think it is.
Oh no!
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's see, that's where I'm taking the piss out of you, and you know it. I'm doing it for love.
To be continued.
Jacob and Co., the Monopoly one with Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, but I was thinking
super chat very quickly, guys. We got Ray Maduro with the 50. Guys, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Ray Maduro with a $50 donation, saying, "Great show, Marco. Unbelievable panel. I just missed the last 20 minutes of the stream. Checking out Todd's Instagram. Had to play the jazz post. Way to step it up. Wait, Todd, you have Instagram? What's your Instagram handle? I'm not even following you.
Oh, it's it's not important. It's just Levin Art Group 1, the number 1. So
Levin
Art Group 1. It's like my business name is Levin Art.
If you're into art, it's one of those accounts where you can get educated. Like there's actually really good content in there.
Yeah, those who want to see it, Levin Art Group 1.
Yeah, that's me.
You get some insight into some pretty special.
There's only there you go. There's the
Hold on, I think you posted a state of the collection. Look at this.
Yeah, well, there's one grouping, of stuff.
Yeah, just stuff. Not important. This is incredible. Yeah, this is and you're big obviously into art as well and jazz, as we mentioned. So guys,
it's basically 4 things. It's basically jazz, it's art, which I do professionally, it's watches, and it's architecture, mostly the Frank Lloyd Wright House. Yeah, this was I hate wrist. I think they're stupid, so I did a backwards wrist.
Sorry, I had to indulge my curiosity. I was like, wait, why do I see a strap back?
What's your drink of poison, Todd?
Things I hate: wrist rolls, unboxing. I hate them both.
Okay, gotcha. But Ray, I just want to say thank you very much for the $50 super chat. That's extremely, extremely generous. Man, thank you very much, and thank you to all the support I've received tonight. You guys are amazing. I don't know what else to say. Thank you very much, Ray. If there's any question we can answer for you, please put it down in the chat so that we can answer. I just want to say hello to my man, my friend MJT. I hope you are well, my man. I hope all is well. But yeah, that's interesting. Can I ask you something, Todd? Because I remember last time when we were on stream, right? You didn't like discussing art at all, right?
I will not do any appraisals for anybody or tell people it's worth. It's just like I'm not going to.
No, okay,
that's all. Because it's just like another world for me. And if I tell somebody and they're disappointed, then I feel bad.
Yes.
And I just people Instagram me all on a regular basis and I have this, my mother has this, my father has this, I bought that. And first of all, I can't really do anything looking at a 7-foot square painting. Think about the surface of a painting and looking at like a 1-inch backlit square on Instagram thing and trying to make any sort of sensible assessment. And the second thing is like I said, I don't want to just get into making people feel bad.
Yep.
So I just have I will not do this on your feed. I'm just telling you.
Todd, I have
Cousin
a
Chrono,
question.
you asked Todd a question.
No, I was just asking what his poison is. Bourbon, or is he into single malts, or what's his
Bourbon and well, whiskey, I guess, would be the appropriate answer because that covers the field. But I like some bourbons and I like some whiskeys. It's pretty narrow. I'm not a massive collector, but you know.
Are you into the peaty stuff? The real peaty Scotch, like Lagavulin, Lafroig's, like the real smoky peaty scotches.
No, I'm not into the smoky as much. Interesting or spicy. I can't. Or something that's really astringent. It's not for me. It's got to be, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
All good.
Todd, I have a question. Do you know the channel Baumgartner Restoration?
Baumgartner Restoration. Yeah, I'm aware of it. I'm sure I've seen it.
I mean, it's basically like a TPG, but for art restoration, and it's very, very well made.
Yeah, it's not Felix Baumgartner, is it?
I don't remember. It's
okay.
Baumgartner.
I just, it's one of those things. It's banging in my head, so like I'm sure I know it. WWJ. I'm just not sure how.
The reason I asked, by the way, Todd, about art was like I was sometimes, you know what I mean, when you work in a certain profession, you don't like talking about it. You know what like you don't like to cross pollinate your work life with your everyday life. That's why I was just wondering if it's you just don't want to talk art at all, just so
I talk art all the time. I mean,
okay, gotcha.
I don't have work life and non-work life. I mean,
right, the two kind of mix, right?
It's just I have my life.
Yeah,
and these things are all my life, you know. So in terms of my interests.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's all. That's the only reason I was asking, just to make sure. You know what I mean? I didn't want to.
No. Yeah.
We got Kurt A with the $5. Thank you very much for the super chat, saying money well spent. These streams get better and better. The watches of jazz musicians are awesome, by the way. Yeah, I mean, most people who are, I guess, into art, into cars, into music, into the finer things in life, let's call them, right? The finer things in life typically tend to be into watches. Anybody know any famous musicians that are big into watches and what they have?
I think Kurt was actually
John Mayer. I've heard of him.
Right, but he's not a jazz musician.
I'm kidding you. I'm joshing. Yeah, no.
Come on.
Jazz musician, big into watches.
Yeah, I think there were a few in the chats as well. I think it was going on a few of these topics. A few guys with watches.
Yeah.
Boris did a Coltrane special edition.
Okay, interesting.
But you don't like Boris.
I know of musicians. I know John is obviously one. John Mayer is one of them. There's a bunch of musicians that are big into watches.
Sheeran is like a huge watch collector.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran's got a big collection. Pharrell is another one. I know Kanye West, Jay-Z. I mean, like, there's a lot of musicians, period, right? I mean, most of them, you know who has an interesting collection is Travis Scott. He's got a lot of really interesting, like he has a 5131 in G, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be the plat. I can't remember, but
I think Jay-Z also has that crazy Grand Comp, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like they'll have some crazy, ridiculous pieces, right? So, but jazz musician, I don't know if
jazz musicians don't make enough money to.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's like you gotta be in pop music, you know.
Miles Davis wore a Navitimer.
Yeah, for part of his life, he did.
Yeah, one of the
and Bob Dylan wears an Oris, but a classical old Oris that looks like the Paul Newman Daytona.
Yeah, and there's that other guy.
Oris.
We got Roar of the Tiger with. I just want to say, Kurt, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. If you know anybody, please let me know. I'll pull it up down in the chat below. We got Roar of the Tiger with the $10 saying Duke Windsor invited Armstrong and the band to supper. Once the meal was over, Armstrong gave the Royals Swiss Chris a voracious laxative.
Yes, it's a laxative.
That they and the Royals roared with laughter.
And the piano player thought it was marijuana. But it was a laxative.
That's a great story.
Yeah, very good story.
Interesting. I did not know this, but yeah, man, thank you for sharing. That's kind of funny, I guess. You know, speaking of dukes, right? If I'm not mistaken, what's his name? Prince Charles. I think it's Prince Charles. He's a big fan of Parmigiani Fleurier. Actually, he has a couple of Parmigianis. I think it's Charles. I can't remember.
The Duke of Edinburgh.
Right. But yeah, he's big into Parmigiani. I know he has a Torque, if I'm not mistaken, is the model, and a couple others, which is interesting. I mean, Parmigiani is a very niche brand, right? It's not something that you see every day for sure.
Michel Parmigiani is another one of those crazy watchmakers.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah,
very good.
Mama Ella.
Switching gears a little bit, given you're into drumming. So who's best drummer? Who's the GOAT? GOAT drummer?
Rich.
Rich. Yeah, Buddy Rich for sure.
Yeah. Technically, and also his solos, when he played a solo, his solos are truly thought through, developed in an incredibly musical way. And if there's endless solos that you can watch on YouTube. Just put in Buddy Rich drum solo, and
That's
some
it.
of his most famous ones. And there's even one, I can't remember which one it is, and this is absolutely a true story, and it's 100% verified. It's one of his greatest drum solos, and it's caught on YouTube. And in the middle of it, though he did not know it at the time, he was having a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And he continued all the way through the drum solo, all the way through the tune, all the way through the set. And then when he got to the hospital after, because he couldn't breathe, they realized retroactively and you can see the moment when he literally has the heart attack. You actually start to see him jerk and the sweat pour down. It's just like, I mean, and that he was still playing with such precision and control in the midst of a heart attack is just, I really do think that he is the greatest of all time for me, at least. Although there are many wonderful drummers, so I don't mean to do anybody a disservice.
Yeah, of course. It's always a controversial topic, but yeah, I think a lot of folks would probably agree with that. So where do you see the guys like John Bonham, Neil Peart? I see some folks.
They're fantastic drummers. Different thing, different style. It's a different thing altogether. I find it almost useless to compare the two.
Neil Peart.
Those guys couldn't play jazz, in terms of what Rich, and I don't think Rich could play rock and roll well.
Yeah.
At all. I think it would sound terrible. So it's like comparing, like some independent watchmaker versus like some, other brand or something. It's very hard to draw those. They are each their unique silos, and those people are individually fabulous in their individual silos.
Yeah.
Oh man, Neil Peart, man. I grew up on that.
Yeah, Peart, man.
Yeah,
Peart.
with Rush. Oh my God.
Yeah.
On that
Best
note,
Canadian rock band.
Wins for the biggest drum set.
Yeah.
Certainly.
With all the concert toms and all that. Oh,
just
yeah.
89 cymbals, 3 songs, synthesizers aplenty. It's just like, 14 triangles, a glockenspiel. It's just like, the whole thing going on. So, yeah.
Wasn't Buddy Rich, wasn't that what, in the 80s when that happened? Early 80s?
I can't remember the concert. It might be the 80s. It might be the 70s. I would guess 80s would be at least a good guess. But it's on YouTube. It's very findable.
I got to find that.
It's very findable.
On that note, I'm going to invite you guys to look it up on YouTube. I'm going to wrap this show up. I don't want it to drag on forever.
Yeah.
It's been 2 hours and 17 minutes of unbelievable watch talk, jazz talk, a little bit of everything. This has been an amazing stream. Thank you very much again, Todd, for coming onto the show. I want to thank the watch guy, the watch wizard, Stefano. Be sure to check out the channel. He's going to be live streaming shortly like we do today. And we got the Wristwatch Jesus and, of course, the real Cars and Chrono himself on Instagram. Thank you as well to JJ, who hopped on briefly, Ari, as well as Wings and Watches and all the other panelists. Thank you to all the guys in the chat. Very much appreciated for your support and the incredible. You guys showed your generosity tonight. Thank you very, very much. Extremely humbled to have your support as always. Greatly appreciate it. Great stream, guys. And of course, you got to wear the watches. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's what it's all about.